Party's on Ramos versus Price. Step forward, please.
42-year-old Blanca Ramos wants her son's ex-girlfriend, 36-year-old Carolyn Price, to repay her credit card bills.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 397 on the calendar in the matter of Ramos versus Price. Parties have been sworn, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat. Sir.
Ms. Ramos, the defendant is your son's former girlfriend.
Yes.
According to these papers. And you claim that she owes you money for things that she charged on a credit card.
Yes.
That was in your name and your son's name.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Price says that she has paid the bill.
That's correct.
And she's going to be able to prove that to me, and that the only reason you filed this claim is because she refused to drop charges that she had filed against your son for assault.
That's not true. I never asked her that.
Okay. Is this your son?
Yes, yes, my son.
I'll get to you in a minute.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Tell me about these credit card purchases.
Okay, I went to Circuit City in 1995.
Circuit City?
Yes, November 1995, with my son, and she went with us. My son asked me to get a credit card for him, so I applied for it, and he get it right away. Okay, by that time...
Just a minute. So he asked you to get him a card?
Yes.
But your name was on it?
Yes. Yes.
Because he wasn't working at the time?
No, he wasn't working at the time and all that kind of stuff, so I got a credit card for him.
That was your first mistake? How old was he at the time?
He was 21.
And not working?
He was working at that time.
You just told me he wasn't working.
No, he was working at that time. He was working as a gardener. He got a part-time job like as a gardener.
Maybe. So you got a credit card for him, you gave it to him, and then she asked if she could put some stuff on the credit card.
Yes, by that time they were living together. They went to Circuit City and got a washer and dryer for $1,054.
Yes.
Okay. Caroline, she decided to return the washer and dryer to the Circuit City. So they found a check to her house with my son and my son's name for $1,054.
Okay.
This lady cashed this check, opened the envelope and cashed this check and paid her own bills with these things.
You'll get to you in a minute.
Okay. Another thing is, okay, after that, she went with my son again to Circuit City and got a big screen TV. She got a PlayStation. She got a lot of stuff. And this came out to $2,600 or $2,700.
Ms. Ramos, was your son living with the defendant at the time that they made these additional purchases for the big screen TV and everything else?
Yes, they were living together.
Well, then they purchased these things together.
No, but she agreed to make the payments for these things they got in Circuit City.
Who did she say she would pay for those things?
Well, the thing is that I find out, I didn't even know about these things. She got these things because...
Just a minute. You keep saying she. Are you telling me that you believe that she went alone?
No, she went with my son.
She went with him?
Yeah.
And they were living together?
Yes.
So they purchased these things together for the house that they were living in together, Mrs. Ramos?
Yes.
So you don't know what kind of an arrangement they made between the two of them about how these things were going to be paid for.
But the thing is, when I applied for a credit card, because I wanted to pay my card off, they denied my application, and I didn't know why, because I had a very good credit. So I asked the TRW to send me a copy of my records. And this shows in here that Circuit City was the only one that was delinquent for 60 and 90 days.
So, Ms. Ramos, at that point, did you say to your son, why did you ruin my credit?
Yes, I did. I asked him
Just
why.
a minute. And let's come up here, sir, now. What's your name?
My name is Victor.
Victor, why did you ruin your mother's credit?
Okay, well, what I want to explain is I've been living with her, and she told me that let's go get some staff for the house, you know, and she promised me that we want to pay this together, you know. She tried to tell you people that I've been living together, but she always put me out of her house.
Just a second, Victor. You got a big screen television, right?
Yeah.
Something very important. No house should be without a big screen television. Did you watch it?
By that?
Did you watch it?
Yeah, I watch it.
All right. And what else did she buy on the credit card other than the big screen TV?
She buy a PlayStation.
What's a PlayStation?
A video game.
Video game that you didn't play with.
No.
You never touched the video game.
No, the TV, yeah.
Let me tell you something. Women don't play those video games. Men get into those things, you know, shooting and, you know, killing a lot of people on the screen, right? They sort of get into that. All right, what else did she buy? A PlayStation, what else?
Washer and dryer.
Oh, just a minute. Did you have clothes?
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you get a washboard and wash the clothes? Or did you use the washer and dryer?
I use the washer and dryer.
Okay. And then you say she put you out. Now, how many times were you arrested for domestic violence?
3 times.
Mm-hmm. And was it after each of those 3 times that she put you out?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she threw you out, as well she should have, probably after the first time you assaulted her. Not waiting until the 3rd time. That was very stupid.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How big was the TV, Victor?
Like this table size.
You must be very successful at your part-time gardening.
And later today,
My stepmother almost beat the crap out of me, basically.
She slapped her one time. She never slapped her on the face at all.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Blanca Ramos is suing her son's former girlfriend, Carolyn Price, for credit card bills. Carolyn says Blanca's son, Victor, assaulted her.
You say that she signed a piece of paper indicating that she would pay a certain amount of
Yes.
money. Let me see it, please.
She signed this letter to me, not to me, to my son. I sent her like 5 letters, and she signed all them together.
Oh, can I?
Just a second.
Sure.
Current balance was $2,711.05, right?
Yes.
I don't know how much was hers of this $2,700.11.
I have a ledger
Yes.
of all my the purchases that were made, the payments I made, and the agreement between Blanca and I that I was to pay $1,000.
Let me see it, please.
And
Because
I
this
did.
$2,700 doesn't tell me how much were her purchases and his purchases and your purchases.
I never make an agreement with her to pay $1,000.
Yes, she did,
I
Your
just
Honor.
tell.
Just a second. Shh. Now, how much in total were your purchases?
Total was $1,172.60, and then you add that refund check there.
So it's
$2,200. And I've made all these payments, as you can see, down to $788.60. All this stuff happened between him and I, and he promised that he would pay some money on this account, and he never did. Then, you know, the abuse started, and I kicked him out, and then she came to me, actually she called me, and her daughter calculated the amount that we both agreed on. It was like $900 and some odd. And I said, well, let's make it even 1,000 and we're even, done, you know. She goes, okay. Then she comes over begging me to not press charges against him, and I wouldn't do it. And then I said, you know, where we stand on Circuit City is $1,000. I'll pay it when I get my settlement, you know.
She has $2,200 for pager, PlayStation, cell phone, TV, and the refund check, which was $22. She also has made numerous payments on this. Where did you get money from him? He didn't pay for a diddly. They incurred this debt because they were living together. Don't you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you go to him and say, Victor, give me some money? You used the TV, you used the cell phone, you used the washer dryer, you got kicked out because you can't keep your hands in your pockets, and I don't want you to destroy my credit. It's not her fault.
Yes, ma'am. I know that.
Good.
But the thing is, that when I called her and asked her the questions for these things, she didn't even know what to say.
Why didn't you ask him? Nothing was purchased on your credit card.
Should ask me. Both of them should be
Just a second.
ask me.
He's your son. He's supposed to ask you. You didn't give her a credit card. You gave it to him. He went out and spent a lot of money. How big was the TV, Victor?
I don't know, but it's like this table size.
You must be very successful at your part-time gardening. Miss Ramos, I'm satisfied that she's paid more than her portion of the debt that she owes you. If you're owed any more money, get it from him. That's all. This case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
And now the next case.
Parties on Jasso versus Widener. Step forward, please.
18-year-old receptionist Christina Jasso wants her father, 46-year-old budget analyst David Widener, to return $700 she claims he stole.
Miss Jasso, this is your father.
Yes.
How old are you?
18.
According to the papers that I've read, you were, for most of your life, living with your mom.
Mm-hmm.
First, how many years?
13.
And then you decided to go and live with your father.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
My grandfather had died, and my mother and I had gotten a run-in because, basically, of depression. I blamed it on her.
You blamed your grandfather's death on your mother?
My mother, because of depression. I thought she could have done something.
Was he sort of like your father while you were growing up?
He was, yeah, basically my father figure.
And you lived with your dad for how long?
Almost 3 full years.
But you started to skip school, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Hang out with some people that probably weren't terrific?
Some, yes.
And so you got into an altercation with your father. This lawsuit is about 2 things. You say that your dad took $700 out of a bank account that was yours,
I have proof of that, yes.
and that he still has your property and your clothes and personal effects.
Birthday gifts and Christmas gifts, everything.
Well, let's start with this bank account. When was the bank account opened?
I don't have the exact date, but it wasn't very long after I had moved up there.
So you were 13, 14.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Who put money into the account?
Most of the money came from babysitting that I had done, from confirmation money that I had gotten, and paychecks he had put in $5 every paycheck he got.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And how often do you get paid?
Every 2 weeks.
So every 2 weeks you would put in $5?
Yes, ma'am.
So $10 a month.
Yes, ma'am.
For how many years?
There were 58 deposits made.
290?
Yes, ma'am.
$290
Yes,
you put
ma'am.
in. Now, there came a time when your daughter left your house. You want to tell me why, sir?
She eloped 8 times from the period of March 11th until May 2nd from our house. And the time she left our house on May 2nd of '96, her mother arranged for a bus ticket for her to leave the state of Wisconsin at 12:30 midnight, travel through the state of the Chicago on a bus by herself back to Ohio. I didn't know this until afterwards, but
I acted out of fear, Your Honor.
Why?
Because my stepmother almost beat the crap out of me, basically. I had a split lip because of it, and I had several bruises on my body.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
it's not my grandchild. She didn't tell me until today. This is the first time she's told me she was pregnant or married.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christina Jasso says her father, David Widener, took money and kept thousands of dollars worth of clothes. He says she can have the clothes back, but the money was his in the first place.
Could we move on with this, please?
Her stepmother slapped her one time. She never slapped her on the face at all. And the split lip came from an auto accident that she's very lucky, a very lucky young lady to even be alive.
When was the auto accident?
March 15th.
March 15th of '96.
In any event, you left and went back to your mother. And at that point, you closed out this account, sir?
No, ma'am. I closed the account on February the 22nd. I did that to protect the funds. I felt if this young lady was skipping school, and she was, that eventually she would realize that she had money at her disposal. The reason I opened the account was to help her.
Was $700 the amount in the account?
$761 I transferred from her account to my account to safeguard it.
Even without any interest, $471 of that money is really hers.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we have no dispute about that. Now let's talk about your clothes and your personal property. I know you left a lot of stuff with your dad. Mr. Widener, I gather from your answer that you are not only frustrated but a little bit angry with your daughter, or you were. Is
Yes,
that right?
ma'am.
That happens, unfortunately. Being a parent requires those two words, unconditional love.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to your answer, you've boxed up the property that is your daughter's when you're just waiting for her to send you $95 for the shipping costs.
Yes, ma'am.
I was never informed of that.
I'm helping you, Christina.
Thank you.
You have to send her things. I mean, even if it doesn't involve running away and moving from one parent to another, that's what happens with teenagers, you know? They love their mother until they're, I don't know, about 12, 13 years old. Then something happens when you reach puberty. Right?
Yes.
I'm glad we understand each other, and you're getting a little older, so you understand.
Yes. I'm pregnant myself, and so I'm learning to understand.
That's not such a smart thing, but we're not going to get into that.
I'm married.
Oh, you are?
Yes, I am.
Fine. Does he work?
Yes, he does.
Ah! Married, working, and pregnant. I can live with those three things. That sounds like an almost formula.
He works 2 jobs, and I work myself, so.
All right. So you're going to be a grandfather.
For the 4th time.
Not with this young lady.
No, ma'am.
So, are you almost going to make up with your dad?
I would like to, but I've called him in the past, and the reaction that he has given me is that the problems were all entirely mine.
You got to put a period. You got to put a period and say, whatever happens, happens. You see, she did that, your former wife. She forgave her daughter for being a brat. She took her back.
I was.
And your daughter was a brat when she lived with you, and she probably made your life miserable towards the tail end. Threw the house upside down?
Wasn't too bad.
So now she seems to be working, married. Is he a nice guy?
Oh, yeah.
Have you met him?
No, ma'am.
Well, I think you should. She's going to have a baby that probably is going to look just like you.
A little darker.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
I'm going to give you a judgment for $471. You can probably use it to buy a crib. That would be a nice thing.
Yeah.
And Mr. Widener, I'm going to direct you, sir, to take the boxed stuff that you have for your daughter and send it back to her without fee. And you traveled here separately, I assume, to court today from 2 different states. Is that right?
Correct.
So why don't you do me a favor and go out and have a cup of coffee together, the 3 of you? Think you can do that?
We can try.
Think you can do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Good luck.
Parties are excused. You may step out. I'll be back to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I hated having to do this to my father because he is my father, but I'm pleased that at least maybe we might be able to communicate now.
I only wanted her to be the best that she could be. I don't think that she gave herself as much credit as she should have. She's a very, but she has a lot of potential.
he needs to put what's in the past behind us.
Party's on Snook. Step forward.
30-year-old Melinda Snook and her husband James, 32, are divorcing because of alleged infidelity by both parties. They have brought their dispute over 2 loans before Judge Judy Scheindlin's court.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 143 on the calendar in the matter of Snook versus Snook. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
You folks were married for 8 years. Still married, but in the process of getting a divorce.
Correct.
Correct?
Yes.
You have 2 kids?
Yes.
How old are they?
8 and 3. 8 and 3?
Boy and a girl?
Yes.
At issue in this case are 2 loans that were made during the course of your marriage. One for $3,500? $3,800 to your mother.
Yes.
And another one to a friend for $1,500.
Correct.
Correct.
You, sir, seem to acknowledge that these loans were made, but refuse to contribute towards repaying them.
Yes.
You're going to tell me why in a minute, I assume. Also at issue are possession of wedding photographs. Is that in an album?
There's a few that he has that he's taken out, but I have some, he has some, but I prefer to have them all together.
They're like personal photos, private photos that she would like to have back.
I'm talking about the wedding photos.
The wedding photos?
Yes.
There was a few he had, but that was not the issue. The ones that were the issue was the private, personal photos that we had that I want back. And the photos of our kids, videotapes of the children that he has.
Well, first, let's talk about the loans, then we'll talk about these photographs. What was this loan for $3,800 to her mother? What was it for?
Money accumulated through the time of our marriage that her mom had loaned her.
What do you mean loaned her?
Excuse me. Yes, thank you.
Just a second.
Sorry.
I don't need help. What do you mean that she loaned her?
Some of the loans I knew about, some of the loans I did not know about. They were for bills that we accumulated.
Well, sir, you seem to acknowledge that her mother made loans to you as a couple.
Yes.
For your bills in the amount of $3,800. Now, that doesn't mean that he's responsible to pay the $3,800. You understand that?
That he's not responsible to pay it?
No, he's only responsible to pay a portion of it.
Yes.
Half of it. You seem not to understand that in your papers.
Well, he won't pay any of it.
You understand, at least I hope you understand now, that he is not solely responsible for paying the $3,800. If your mother made a loan to the 2 of you as a couple, it seems reasonable for each of you to be responsible for half of that loan, unless you can give me some reason why you shouldn't be responsible for half of that loan.
I don't think I should be responsible for any of the loan.
Well, you're going to tell me why in a second. We haven't gotten to that part yet. First, I want to make sure that she's being reasonable. Then I'll get to your being reasonable.
First off, I do think he should pay for most of it too, because part of the loan that we took out, she wrote off $2,500 of it through my college education that I had before I met Jamie. And
I don't understand that.
We had a debt of about $6,500, and she wrote off $2,500 of it as a thank you to me for me paying for my own college.
I'm not talking about your college, madam. I'm talking about the money that your mother lent, come on, for your household bills, which were $3,800. I assume over the course of time this was in dribs and drabs.
Yes, and part of it also was for his vending that he had to take out, and I figure he should pay for that.
For his what?
He has vending machines, like snack machines and stuff.
Were the vending machines the source of your family's income?
No.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I work at special effects and repairs on rides.
And you also have some vending machines?
Yes.
And what did you do with the money that you got from these vending machines?
I was paying on the loan that was taken out for the machines. And the accounts were small, so they weren't making enough to pay the loans.
So you were hoping that this business would get going?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to debate this with you any further. You are responsible for half of these loans. Now, let's get to you. You don't think you should be responsible for any loan to her mother.
Correct.
Tell me why.
Currently, I'm paying out a month right now for my expenses and her expenses, $2,800 a month. That's just monthly payments. I write out every month in checks.
Right.
And then I have another $10,000 of other unpaid bills that I'm going to be responsible to pay for also. So as a contribution towards this, she can take care of that loan while I'm taking care of my living expenses.
Do you work?
Presently, right now, no, I don't.
Well, how are you supporting yourself?
Right now, Jamie is supporting us with what he gives us, but Jamie seems to only want to pay when he wants to pay the bills, and he doesn't have a $10,000 debt that I'm involved in. So I disagree with what he's saying there.
What kind of work had you been doing?
I'm a hairdresser. And I did for 10 years, and I supported Jamie for the first 2 years of our relationship.
I assume that when the divorce is over, you're going to go back to work.
Oh, I'm going back to work.
So, sir.
Yes.
Right now, are you voluntarily paying this $2,800, or are you paying it by court order?
Voluntarily.
You're going to have to allocate some of that money towards repaying the loan to her mother. Half of it. Do you understand? $1,800. Half the loan to her mother. Now you have a $1,500 loan to a friend. What was that for? Who wants to tell me?
It was a loan she had taken out from a friend of hers to catch up on some bills we were behind on, and...
Mr. Snook, you keep saying she took out the loans to catch up on bills that we were behind on.
Well...
You mean she asked for the loan?
She did.
And you, too, spent the money on household bills that you were behind on.
Yes.
So, why shouldn't you be responsible for paying back half of those bills?
Initially, I would have felt I was responsible to pay back half, or pay the full amount of the loan or half the loan, except for on the time of our disputing of our difficult times, this gentleman started calling the house and asking her out, and they would go out to the bar and they'd meet and have drinks and stuff, and I thought it was very disrespectful for him to go after my wife and as a friend, and I don't feel like I should pay him now.
You don't have to love him, sir. You just have to pay him. And you only have to pay him half, so it should make you feel better.
I felt he was wrong on that because he felt I was having an affair with this guy, Terry, which I wasn't. He felt I was doing something behind his back, so he wasn't going to repay this loan. He tells me flat out that he's not repaying it because he says, I cheated with another man, and now I can do the debt. But that's not true. And
well, whatever. You asked Terry for the $1,500.
Only because he asked me to.
I did not.
Just a second. You sound, madam,
yes,
you sound like a very, very self-assured person. You didn't ask Terry only because he asked you to. I mean, he didn't strap you down.
No, I don't normally go out and ask people for money.
But you asked Terry for this money. You have to pay $750 back to Terry, and so do you. Do you understand? That's
yes,
fair.
ma'am.
We're talking about being fair. When a marriage breaks up, there are certain assets, and each of you will want half the assets, and there are certain liabilities.
Yeah, but being that I owe him money, I don't think he should be contacting my wife and trying to go out with her.
That's none of your business at this point.
Well, there was a
Just a second. Don't respond. That's none of your business at
That
this
was
point.
disrespectful as a friend, and then expect me to pay him money after he's trying to sleep with my wife. And then he wants his money back, so he gets her and the money too.
Let me explain something to you. You made this debt. You and your wife made this debt. If it turned out that you didn't like him over anything, whether you felt that he was disrespectful towards you because he was pursuing your wife, whether that's true or not, it's really not relevant. Whether he disrespected you in some other way, that does not negate the fact that you owe this money. Somebody is going to have to pay him back the money, and you originally agreed to pay him back this money as a couple. Period. End of discussion. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. Now let's get to the rest of the stuff, which all sometimes is the most sticky of wickets. with regard to people who are divorcing.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She's a black widow, and you let her come in.
Yeah, but
She did her little nest, and you fell for it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Melinda Snook says her husband James cheated on her. James says Melinda was unfaithful. While waiting for a divorce, they have brought their dispute over 2 loans before Judge Judith Scheindlin.
Wedding photographs, photographs of the children, videos of the babies. These things are treasures of the children's, not really yours. It's interesting, 50% of the marriages in this country, unfortunately, fail. It's a sad statistic, but true. And so many wedding albums end up having heads cut out of them. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what you choose to do. The truth is, when your children are adults and much older and you're not here anymore, your children and grandchildren would like to be able to look at their family histories. So I want you to think of these photographs of your wedding and the times that you spent together with your children as really being, you're holding them in trust for your kids. They're not really yours. The wedding albums really will have no sentimental value for you, but they will for your children. The wedding photographs should not be headless. This picture, you have no head in that picture. He has no head. So I don't care how you deal with that. If one person wants to keep them and put them in a vault, we can do that. Or it's very easy. We live in a very technologically sophisticated era. You can make copies of pictures. You can make copies of videos. So you have family videos that are in your possession. Is that right?
yes.
And you would like them.
Not just the family videos. He also has some personal pictures I want to make sure I get back.
Let's talk about the personal pictures in a second. I'm talking about the children's pictures. If that's not an issue, then don't waste my
Oh, no,
time.
it is an
We put
issue.
it in the, you put it in your paper, so
Oh,
I'm
yes, I
addressing
want the
it.
videos, because he said I couldn't have them.
Sir,
Yes.
she should have every picture that you have in your possession, or a copy thereof. You have pictures in your possession?
At home, yes.
Well, whether they're at home or whatever.
I already made the albums for the kids. That's why I want these pictures back.
Fine. He would like copies of all the pictures that you have. Do you understand?
Yes.
Is that reasonable?
Yes.
Good. So you add them all up. If you have 100 pictures, each one of you pay for 50 and make copies. So now you have half. And if you have a video that you want, is it a video of the kids?
Yes.
How many videos do you have of the children?
About roughly 8 or 9. I have them here.
Let me see what they're on. What kind of thing are they on?
I'm on VHS tape, Judge.
8
Just a
millimeter.
second. My technical advisor is giving me some information.
He can copy them on a VHS tape.
Good. You can copy them on a
VHS tape.
VHS tape. Make her a copy. So she has a copy and you have a copy. Is that fair?
Yes.
Perfect. Now, the photos that you want, I assume, the personal photos, because of the way you say it to me, probably of photographs that you would not like to have broadcast.
Exactly.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I believed everything she said, that she was fooling around on me and cheating on me, and I took it very hard.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. A divorcing couple, Melinda and James Snook, have come before Judge Judith Scheindlin to decide who should pay for outstanding loans.
Are they
Yes.
all there, sir?
Yes.
And the tape?
Just a second. I want you,
And the
this is a
negatives?
tape,
Yes.
the tape in issue. Don't tell me what's on it. This is a family courtroom. I want you to look at these photographs and tell me if these are the photographs that you have a problem with. Okay?
If they're not all there?
Well, don't speculate. Look.
Most of them.
Okay.
There's a few I can see that that he might not call bad that I still consider bad that aren't in there.
But these are the worst of the lot.
Yes.
Now, you want them back or you want them destroyed?
Destroyed.
We're good at that. Okay, so
And
you
no
understand the
copies were
ground
made?
rules? Everything that you have of the kids, everything that you have of the kids is going to be copied so that each of you has a copy, so that hopefully the children will have always copies, pictures of themselves growing up,
Exactly.
that you will each have photographs, hopefully that the children will always have the photographs to look back on, and you, sir, are going to give her a check for $2,650, and you are going to assume those two debts yourself. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay? Now, is there anything that I've left out?
Yes.
What?
A mutual friend of ours that caused this whole thing that he is bothering to leave out why he won't pay the debts.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was convincing, I guess.
Why? Why?
She told me what I wanted to hear.
Just a second. He's paying the debt.
There's more to this than that, though.
Listen to me, madam. I don't have all day. I got a lot of cases to do. I've just resolved every issue that you presented to me in your complaint. Okay? I'm not a psychiatrist. If you have a problem, you should see a therapist. I'm here to resolve legal issues. Now,
Well,
are there any other legal issue of property
yes.
that I have not resolved?
There was some pictures, as I said, that are missing that brought
know
into
about
a girl. It brings in another friend that caused a lot of problems.
Did you understand what I said, Miss Nook?
Yes.
Good. Is there any other property that you are interested in?
There is.
What?
There's a few, but I know she doesn't have them all. There might be nothing to you, but there are to me.
Listen to me. I have just resolved this. You understand what the court's ruling is?
Yes.
Good. One last bit of advice. You made two children. They're very young. They're 8 and 3 years old. You are going to have contact with each other for the next 20 years. Graduations, proms, engagements, weddings, after that, grandchildren. If your marriage is over for whatever reason, I want you to love your children more than you hate each other. Is that fair?
Yes.
Your children didn't ask to be born into a war zone. And I'm certain that when you had your kids, you had every intention of giving them a loving, secure home with two parents. That didn't work out. The children's emotional security should be paramount in your mind. And I want you to understand, and you to understand, that if either of the children has an emotionally damaged parent because of what you do to each other, that's going to hurt the kids. So I'm very serious with you. Love your children more than you hate each other. Okay? That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Good call, Judge.
And on the next Judge Judy.
It went a little bit too far, and he started having lunches with her and leaving little notes and stuff for her that he never did for me in our marriage, that stuff I wanted.
Me and her were really close friends at the time. And
Friends?
as a close friend, she was trying to tell me what was going on, what I wasn't seeing, that she was doing something wrong that I didn't see.
He told me that I was a psycho and she was normal, and I thought for sure they were going to get together. Are you still friends with her?
No.
Do you still talk to her?
Nope.
Yes, you did.
Well,
You
I
went and
saw
talked
her.
to her. After what she had done, you went and talked to her. Like it was still okay. And that's not right, Jamie. You did talk to her, and you even said so. And you had her page your number into your phone book.
But in turn, I don't know. Everything she told me was true or not. If you were with the people she said.
Why didn't you
or-
ask me? She wanted things to happen between both of us. She told me that I was going to take her. First, I took Jamie away from her, and Joe, what was going to do is steal her children. Meanwhile, she was trying to become me.
She was convincing, I guess.
Why? Why?
She told me what I wanted to hear.
She's a black widow, and you let her come in.
Yeah, but
She did her little nest, and you fell for it.
Parties on Heil Eastling versus De Hoyos Eastling. Step forward, please, all parties.
18-year-olds Mary Jane Eastling and Jason Heil are suing Mary's mother, Elizabeth Eastling, and her boyfriend, Basilio De Hoyos, for the return of their belongings.
Order. All rise. Quiet, please. All rise. Miss, we do this? Thank you. Your Honor, this is case number 16 on the calendar in the matter of Heil Eastling versus De Hoyos Eastling. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
How old are you, Miss Eastling?
18.
This is your boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a child together.
Yes, ma'am.
How old is your child?
7 months.
This is your mom.
Mm-hmm.
And this is your mom's boyfriend.
Yes.
And according to the papers that I've read, this lawsuit is about some furniture and things that you left behind when you moved out of a home. Is this a mobile home?
Yes.
That belonged to your son,
My
sir.
son, yes.
How did you come to live in Mr. De Hoyos' son's home?
Well, they invited us down there. And
Down where?
Down to Florida, where they stayed. And they told us that they would put us in our own place, and we can get jobs and pay for it, and pay rent there, and stay there.
Did you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you move there?
Probably at the end of March.
Of what year?
97.
Where had you been living?
We were living at that time in Delaware.
With whom?
With his mom.
My mother.
And why did you leave Delaware?
We just wanted to be together, you know, things wasn't going on down there. And, you know, she wanted to just be closer to her family, so, you know. And, you know, she was having a baby. She thought it'd be better off there in case she needed, you know, the right for the hospitals.
The base was right, like 5 minutes away, and I have my ID card, and, you know, it'd be easier for me to go to the hospital and get checked
What base?
out. The Air Force base.
Who was in the Air Force?
My father is, but I still have my ID card.
So you were a dependent minor of your father, so you could use all the medical facilities there. I see. Now, you were told, according to your papers, you were told to leave the mobile home. How long were you there?
Probably about 5 or 6 months.
Who told you to leave?
My stepfather here.
What did he say to you?
Well, he said, do you want to be with Jason? Because they had kicked him out. So they said, do you want to be with Jason?
When did they kick him out?
October 2nd.
Why did you kick him out, sir?
Because he didn't want to work. I mean, when we took him in, okay, it was under the consideration that he would come down, at least hold a part-time steady, you know, till they got 18 and they were able to support themselves. I tried to put them in their own place. It just didn't work. So then I had my son move them in with him. They paid half and my son paid the other half. I mean, she's always been a worker. And I did as best we could do for them. I tried to help them. I tried to do everything for them. But I could not get through his head that he has to work. If he takes the responsibility of a woman, he has to work. I refuse to support another man.
So when did you throw him out?
It was about 3 or 4 weeks after his 18th birthday, because I had sat down with him and talked to him. I told him, look, I'm willing to help you in every way I can. I'll do anything for you as long as you do right. I told him when he's 18, he must get a job, a full-time job, a real job.
What was he doing before he was 18?
Just get working 2 and 3 hours at McDonald's and stuff like that, which that ain't nothing, but...
Well, there must have come a moment, sir, when you got frustrated with him and you
not
told
just
him
one
to leave.
time. Oh, yeah, the day I told him to leave was, I got him a job where I worked at, and 2 days later, he called in sick. So I sent my son, which also works there, to find out what was wrong with him. My son came back, said he wasn't there, so then I went personally. And he was getting ready to go hang out, so I turned around, I told him he had to leave. And I asked her, if she wanted to stay, she don't have to worry about nothing. I even told her that I would give her $5,000 for him and her just to leave, and I'll take care of the baby. And she turned that down, too. She said she's leaving with him, and they left.
And they left. When they left, according to you, you left some things there.
Yes, ma'am. Can I say something?
Sure.
Okay. What they're saying about that he was getting ready to go hang out with his friends, he wasn't, because he was getting ready to go to work, but my stepfather said that it was too late, that he was already fired.
Why didn't you go to work on time?
Because I was feeling sick, but, you know, she told me I was going to hear it from her family, so, you know, I said...
What do you mean you were feeling sick? What was wrong with you?
I was feeling ill. I was sick, man.
Lazy.
We're just, shh, shh. You work at this job for 2 days, and then you're feeling ill, but then you're getting ready to go to work.
No, I was sick at first. I was telling her I'm not going to go to work because I didn't feel like it. And, she, you know, and then she told me I'm going to hear from family. I said, all right, I was going to be 10 minutes late, ma'am. And then by the time the kid came over, he said I was already fired.
What are you kidding me? I mean, what are you, ridiculous? You were going to be 10 minutes late, and he already knew about it, that you weren't going to work, and you say you were only going to be 10 minutes late? Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, tell me about these things that you left behind.
Well, we had an entertainment center, a TV, a stereo.
Show the list.
And, no, I know what we got. A futon, and then we had a bed and a crib and a changer.
And you left all that stuff behind?
Yes, because they only gave us like 4 hours to leave.
Yeah, they said you want to leave at 6 or 12.
I gave you plenty of time.
What stuff was left behind, sir?
Exactly what she said. You
No,
know,
no stereo.
No, the only thing we don't have is the stereo.
There was no
okay?
stereo there.
Now, I went the same day she left, I went to the house. Her friends were there. One of them took a cooler with all the food and some other things, which I didn't care because they weren't mine. But then when my son decided to move back in the house, that's when her things were all put into one room, thrown in my, the bigger room in the trailer. And then we had to take them out because my son's moving in. We put most of the stuff in his shed. The rest of the stuff is in my shed. The stuff in my shed is in good condition because it doesn't leak.
What is in your shed, sir?
Okay, I have all the boxes. I have the futon. I think I have the crib there also. That's about it in my
And
house.
what was in your son's shed?
Boxes, the mattresses, the box spring. The stuff was made out of particle board, and we
No,
had...
I'm talking about the stuff.
In my son's
Futon,
shed.
you have.
Yes.
The crib, you have.
Yes.
What
Yeah.
else did you have?
And clothes that we had left behind. And
A lot of the baby stuff. And the
yeah,
baby
and a
shower.
lot of baby stuff.
And
like
which came from us
stroller,
anyway.
A stroller.
It came from us anyways.
So meanwhile, you have a lot of their stuff.
Oh, yes, you could pick it up.
Well,
I just won't pay for it.
Excuse me, ma'am, can I say something?
We
the
had-
time we had moved to Ohio with Oklahoma with my sister where we're staying now, she had made a phone call to her mother asking for her stuff. You know, my sister was going to take us down there to get it. And she was saying either got ruined or they threw it out. You know?
Well, listen, this is very, very easy.
Uh-huh.
You say you have it in your shed,
I
all the
have-
stuff that wasn't ruined.
Whatever's not ruined is there.
The stuff that was ruined was placed in your son's shed.
I took pictures of it, but I don't have much of the stuff that, it was all in my son's shed. But whatever's there she could have, I have no use for it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You expect a medal for that? Fool around, act like morons, don't use protection, get pregnant, bring a baby into the world when you're 17 years old. You expect a medal for that?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary Eastling and Jason Heil ran off together. Now they want Mary's mother, Elizabeth Eastling, and her boyfriend, Basilio De Hoyos, to return belongings left behind.
Miss Eastling, sounds to me as if your mother, who hasn't said much, and your stepfather were trying to be very good to you in a time when you weren't being particularly responsible. Doesn't that sound right? They invited you to come down there. They were trying to be good to you. Right.
Yes.
Why do you think they're angry with you now?
Because I wanted to be with him.
And why don't you think they like him?
Because they don't.
Why don't you think they like him?
Well, he was working.
Can I tell you something, man?
Sure.
The reason why I think that they didn't like me, because, her mother, I respect them as adults and they're her family, but she would put me down, call me a bum the way I dress,
she called you a bum because you wouldn't work.
If you take anybody out there who makes a baby at a young age, they can play basketball, go to school, but I stuck with her through the whole time, through everything, even I was getting put down by a family.
No, you didn't stick
Just to
with
say
her.
that?
Yeah,
Well, you expect a medal for that?
No, I'm just saying, though,
Huh?
No, man.
You expect a medal for that? Two 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds?
Oh, man.
Fool around, act like morons, don't use protection, get pregnant, bring a baby into the world when you're 17 years old, go from Delaware to Oklahoma to Kansas to Florida, all over the place, traipse all over, bring a baby all over the place. You expect a medal for that? Now, they have your stuff, whatever stuff they have that didn't get ruined in the shed. Who's going to make arrangements to pick it up? You don't expect them to ship it to you, do you?
Well, we had arrangements, but, if they would have told us earlier, we would have had it, but they had to say they were throwing out or nothing. The thing is that we wanted, things we left, we wanted how that we left them. That's why we come here today.
Just a second. You want them in the same condition as when you left them?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you shouldn't have left them.
Well, we had just a second. We had like an hour to leave, ma'am.
Just a second. Hey, Mr. De Hoyos, you may have had. Let's assume that he gave you an hour to leave. I don't believe that. I don't believe that this man gave you an hour to leave with the baby. I believe maybe he gave him an hour to leave, but I don't believe he gave you an hour to leave. And you made the choice, reasonably, that you decided to go with your man. Now, so then you're gone. It's an hour later. So how many days later did you call and say, I want my stuff?
Well, it was about 3 weeks because I had to get settled in.
That's not their problem. That's your problem.
Well,
they don't have to look over your stuff and ensure that your stuff is in pristine condition. You left. Now, if you
because
say that,
they asked me if I wanted to be with him, and I said yes. So they said, fine, then you have to leave too. Then.
Well, they don't have to love him. They just love you. They love you. So, make arrangements to get your stuff.
All right.
Your cost. You make arrangements with a truck to go and pick up your stuff, whatever is there. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you'll make arrangements for all the property that is currently in your possession to be
it
available to them whenever they arrange to have the truck. But you have to make arrangements to do that within the next 2 weeks. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
2 weeks, you have to do it. Did you bring the baby?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you seen the baby?
No.
No, ma'am.
Would you like to see the baby?
Love to.
Miss Eastland, who's got the baby?
I do.
In the back room? Baby's in the back room? Bring the baby inside. I'd like to see the baby, too.
Your Honor, could I say something?
Yeah.
Even though they put us through this, okay, if he would show me that he could be a man, that's all I want him to be, is a man. That's a boy there.
Mr. De Hoyos.
If he would just show me.
He's a boy.
Yes, but if he would show me he's a man and get her a place and everything, I'd still be willing to help him.
Mr. De Hoyos, I understand what you're saying, sir.
You know?
He's a boy. He's 18 years old. I've had 18-year-old children. They're children.
I know.
You know, they may do grown-up things, you know, just think that just because you can have a baby, you're an adult. It's not true. You can have a baby when you're 12. That doesn't necessarily mean you're able to have a family and be responsible. And they don't look as if they're particularly together. What I'm going to try to convince your daughter is that right now you're with him. You may, Miss Eastling, be with him forever. Who knows? In the best of circumstances, even when you're not 16 and become pregnant and have a baby when you're 17, and you do everything in a much more reasonable and mature fashion, marriages often, relationships don't last, right? I mean, your mom and dad, I don't know how old they were when they got married, but their marriage didn't last.
No.
Right? So you never know. You can usually count on your parents in times of need, and you know that. Miss Eastling, you know that. I know you're young and you're angry, and right now, he's your life and your baby is your life, and that's okay. But if you cut them out, that's not a good thing. Do you know what I mean?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So you look at her and you see that she looks a little like you, and that's a nice feeling.
Oh, yes.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Mary Eastling and Jason Heil want Mary's mother, Elizabeth Eastling, and her boyfriend, Basilio De Hoyos, to return their property.
Is this your first grandchild?
It's her first.
Boy or a girl?
Girl. Little girl.
Bert, can I see that baby? They know what the baby looks like. Can I see that baby? Oh, that baby is a doll. Is she cute? She's very cute.
Thanks.
Show her to her grandparents. You don't, Miss Eastling, you don't mind, do you?
Oh, God, she's big.
Look at her. Miss Eastling. You're the one, believe it or not, at age 18 who controls this whole situation. Do you know that?
Sit on this.
You sort of do. You control this whole situation.
She'll never even know us.
Who are you living with now?
His sister.
Does she have children?
Mm-hmm.
How many kids does she have?
2.
And I assume you're not going to stay there forever.
No.
You have to get up some money and try to find a place of your own. Where are you working, Mr. Heil?
I sell artwork. I make my own business.
What do you mean you sell artwork?
I go like to public places with a portfolio. I design tattoos. I draw framed art.
Do you make a living doing that?
Yes, ma'am.
So why are you living with your sister?
Because we're trying to save up money right now.
You got some money in the bank?
Not right now.
So you are working, but you
Yes.
haven't saved any money. Are you working?
Yes.
Who takes care of the baby when you work?
He does.
So you have a job outside the house.
I don't like being home.
What kind of work do you do?
I work at McDonald's.
Miss Eastling, you're a very attractive young girl, very articulate, and I think you're bright. Now, this is not a disparaging remark against McDonald's, but you don't want to work at McDonald's forever. What do you hope for yourself?
I just want to finish school.
Are you in school now? No. You know, for many years, Miss Eastling, before I took my current job, I was a judge in the family court in New York. And I think probably over the 15 years that I was a sitting judge in the family court, I saw hundreds and hundreds of young couples like you. And although you have the best of intentions, most of these young relationships don't have a long life. Do you know what I mean?
I understand.
It's very important, Miss Eastling, for your baby to have a rock. Some community that's always there, in addition to you and to her father, but who's there for security, stability. Right now, you two kids don't have it. And it's a mistake for you, because you control it, to cut them off, because they'll be good for your baby. And that should be the unselfish thing that you feel. You made a baby at the wrong time, when you weren't ready, but unselfishly as a parent, because you are a parent now, you should know that they'll be good for your baby, to have them as backup. So don't cut them off. Do you know what I mean?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Are you in a family dispute? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
This is your first grandbaby.
Yes, ma'am.
So you look at her and you see that she looks a little like you,
Oh, yes.
and that's a nice feeling.
Oh, yes.
Sort of makes you feel as if there's a line that goes on forever. So your daughter's young, she made some mistakes. I have a feeling that you could help her out a little bit. Some extra things that she might need. And while she and Mr. Heil are going to come by and pick up the stuff that they need, if there were some things that got destroyed,
I'll take care of it.
I have a feeling you will. Okay. Miss Eastling, you do me a favor?
Huh?
Let your folks spend a little time with you and the baby today? You spend some time with them a little bit today? Let them spend some time with their granddaughter? That would be the right thing to do. All right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Good. Thank you. That's all.
All right, excuse you may step out.
You got her?
Yeah.
Everybody.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There you go.
And on the next Judge Judy.
Out the back.
She knows how much I love her. I don't have to tell her. She knows that, right, Jane? I've never tried to hurt her in any way. I've always tried to be good to her. Her boyfriend's a different story. We just can't see eye to eye.
Spadaro versus Smith. Step forward, please.
Professional cameraman William Spadero wants one-time date beautician Ann Smith to pay medical bills for a bitten finger. Ann is countersuing, claiming she was raped.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 73 on the calendar in the matter of Spadaro versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Well, the complaint and the answer in this case that I have is rather lengthy. So let me see if I understand the gist of it. You, sir, met the defendant in a nail salon where I assume you work?
Hair salon.
Hair salon. And you dated a couple of times.
Correct.
On one of those dates, you borrowed his jacket. Is that right?
Correct, but there was no dating.
Where did you borrow his jacket? Where were you when you borrowed his jacket?
At his house.
Were you just there for what?
Visiting, then leaving. We had lunch.
Okay, you didn't think of it as dating?
No.
Did you think of it as dating?
Yes.
A date is when you make an arrangement with a woman and then you come to pick her up as a gentleman would.
That's if you're in 1969 or 1972. In 1998, I don't know if you go pick up ladies anymore. My children tell me that you make arrangements to meet someplace.
Correct.
So that nobody has to be inconvenienced.
Correct.
In any event, you were at the house, you borrowed his jacket, you took it home. There came a time he wanted his jacket back. You decided to go to the house to return his jacket.
Correct.
Then you claim you were assaulted. Why don't you tell me about that?
Yes, Your Honor. I was expecting to get the jacket back. She says, yes, I'll bring it back. So she came over to the house, and I was watching TV at the time. She says, why don't you turn off the television? So I said, well, I really like this show. And so she says, no, just turn it off. So we turned off the TV. I had a feeling she wanted to become a little more amorous. I said, okay, because I can't remember if at that point in time she had presented the jacket. I don't think at that point in time she had. I think she said she was going to bring the jacket. She didn't have the jacket with her then. So I wanted to try to appease matters, and we got into a little more of a physical situation. We ended up becoming intimate, and during, or immediately after the intimacy,
No, I said no.
she had
I'm going to
said-
give you your chance to tell me your story. Go ahead.
She had said, is there any way we can, develop more of a relationship? And I said, I really don't think that we're compatible enough to work on a relationship. We've been out a couple times, and I really don't feel any chemistry. So at this point in time, she left my bed, and at the bottom of the bed, she said, I'm not a whore. And I said, I never said you were. She said, if I yelled rape right now, there's nothing you could do about it. I said, you're absolutely correct. There's nothing I could do about it. So at this point in time, she walked into my bathroom, and she started screaming rape. I mean, to the top of her lungs. I mean, she's screaming it. And I'm just beside myself. I go, what do I do with this? So adjacent to my bathroom is my second bedroom. So I go into my second bedroom, and I call the operator. I said, could you give me the phone number of the North Hollywood Police Department? She said, what do you need? And I said, do you hear this in the background? And she's screaming rape. So she gives me the number, and I call North Hollywood Police Department. I said, get a car over here. This lady is irate. I don't know what's going to happen here. Please send somebody. So at this point in time, she'd left the bathroom, and she had walked into my living room. And she was calm. She'd sat down on my couch for a while, and then she got up, and she started screaming rape again. And I said, just a matter of time. I go, why don't you just calm down? Why don't you just leave? Why don't you leave? I'm going to give you the freedom to leave. Because you didn't call the police. I said, yes, I did. They're going to be here momentarily. At that point in time, she picked up this statue and was going to throw it. Now, I've got a widescreen television, and adjacent to the widescreen television, I've got a grandfather clock. And I was afraid of something happening to that. So I grab this, and I set this down on the table, and she swings at me. So I grab her hands. I said, there's only going to be a couple minutes, before the cops are going to be here. I know I'll be okay. So I'm struggling with her, and I bring her down to the ground. We're in front of my front window. I'm holding her hands because I know the officers are going to be here. We'll get this thing resolved. And she says, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. So it was either just prior to that or after I released the grip on her hands, she reached over and bit my hand. And I mean, it was enough. I couldn't get my hand away. And then she let go. Then I noticed at the front window the officers, and they said, stand up and put your hands up. So I stand up and I put up my hands, open up the front door. He grabs me, and he cuffs me on my porch. 2 female officers walk into the house to sit with the defendant. So I'm standing out on the porch, and they're asking me what happened. And I ran down the situation, and the female officer comes out and says, you know, she wants to have you arrested. Do you want to have her arrested? And I said, no, I just want her out of my house. That's all I ever wanted, was just to have her out of my house. And she goes, okay, I'll go back in and see what happens. So they're in probably another 10 minutes, and then they all walk out. And at this point in time, the officer takes the cuffs off me. But prior to that, the one officer said, she's been drinking, and she needs to have a ride home. Can she call somebody? And I said, yes. And that's accounting now for the variability in her actions. I mean, she was real mellow when she first got to my house, and then became extremely irate. And they asked me, had you been drinking? And I said, no, I haven't had anything to drink. So she called someone to come and get her.
Is that the assault, sir?
Correct.
The assault was when she bit you?
Correct.
Okay. Did you ever get your jacket back?
Yes, I did.
How?
I called a friend of mine who's an attorney. He says, appease her. He says, call her and see if you can get your jacket back. So I called her, and she starts screaming to me on the phone. She hangs up. A couple minutes later, she calls me again. She goes, were you the one that just called me?
Back before that.
And I said, yes. You know, I'm the one that just called you. She said, okay. She goes, so we start talking. I said, why don't we just mellow this out? Why don't you just bring me my jacket, and we'll work this out. So she did eventually.
What kind of jacket was this, sir, that was worth?
Little flimsy jacket.
That was worth, you were making another phone call to her
It was the last jacket I had from a company that I've been with for 20 years.
What do you mean? Was it a specialty jacket?
Yeah, I mean, it had the logo on the back of the jacket, and I wanted that jacket. It was important. It was the very last item that I had received from that company.
You were almost arrested and incarcerated, sir, because of something that she said. It would seem to me if you used your brains, you would say, I must have a picture of myself in that jacket. That's going to suffice. In any event, that's what you're talking about, the bite to your hand. Do you have medical records? Yes, Your Honor, I do. May I approach? Yeah. Oh, okay. What was the date of this incident, sir? December 20th. I had let a couple of days go by, and I called a physician friend and said, could you take a look at my hand? It's been bleeding, and it's getting enlarged.
Bit it yourself.
Shh. And he says, where were you bitten? I said, on my hand. He said,
don't tell me what your friend said.
Okay, I want you to get to emergency. All right, so you got to emergency. I see, 6 days later. He said I could lose my hand. That's why I went then. I'm not interested in what he told you. That's hearsay. Physician. So? That's you have a bill. That's important. Correct. The bill is important. What somebody said to you outside of court is not relevant and inadmissible.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Then you have to think with what's up here, not what's down here. You don't have to go. I understand. And you say, thank you very much for my jacket. Goodbye.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 40-year-old cameraman William Spadero is suing for medical bills, claiming 37-year-old Ann Smith bit him. Ann says he forced himself on her, and she was defending herself.
Now, Miss Smith, he's told me his story. Why don't you tell me your version of it?
I went over to return his jacket December the 20th. Must have been approximately 8:30. And when I went in, I don't remember if he was watching TV or not, but he immediately stood up to be friendly and cordial to me. And he had the fireplace going, and we started talking. I don't remember whether he turned off the television or not. The point was that we ended up getting a little bit friendlier than we should have, and then I said no. And he went ahead.
What do you mean he got...
When I, you know, being intimate, hugging and kissing or whatever. And then I said, no, I don't want to have sex with you. And he decided that he was so excited he would just do it anyway. And after he was done, I said, you know, you didn't use a condom, you didn't anything. And so, and I was in tears, I started crying. And then he says, no, this is it, you have to leave right now, immediately you have to leave. And I said, I want to go to the restroom and I want to clean myself because I could be pregnant or anything. I want to go to the bathroom and I want to clean myself up so I can leave as a dignified woman. And he said, no, you're not, you're leaving right now. He grabbed my shoulder as I went into the bathroom, very firmly placing it on my shoulder and trying to pull me out of his bathroom, treating me as though, I was, some kind of dog. Just throw me right out. Do whatever you want and throw me right out. Then he goes to the back room. He says, no, you're leaving right now. And he goes back and he picks up the telephone. And I don't know who he was calling, but he said he's calling the police. And I thought, how could he do this? I mean, how could he do something like this to a woman? Then now he's going to call the police on her after he's done that to her? So I started screaming rape. Because when a woman says no, that means no.
Just a second. So what you're telling me is that you didn't start to yell rape until after he got on the phone.
He called the police.
Until after he got on the phone. Well, what were you yelling rape for?
Well, because he's playing games with me. He won't let me clean up so that I can leave his house, and yet he wants to call the police on me.
But I don't understand.
It doesn't make sense.
No, what you did doesn't make sense. First of all, I read your answer. Your answer said you were on your way out for an evening with your boyfriend, and you decided to go over that evening beforehand and return his jacket.
Yes.
And that was about 8:30.
Right.
And what time are you supposed to meet your boyfriend?
10:30.
So you left yourself 2 hours.
Right.
And you got there, and according to you...
Because we were friends, somewhat. Excuse me.
According to you, there was some hugging, some kissing, some fondling, some whatever. Right? I mean, you're there to return a jacket.
Right.
At this point, I don't hear anything about no rape, anything else. What bothered me about your response here...
But I said no.
What bothered me, that's what you say now. What bothered me about the response and and what you say to me now is that I can understand that if that's what happened to you, going into the bathroom and starting to scream rape so that you can get help or trying to get out as soon as you can, that I absolutely understand.
He was trying to...
But you just told me that you were angry because he wouldn't let you go into the bathroom and clean up.
He wouldn't even let me clean myself up after he did that to me.
Something doesn't sound right, Miss Smith. It just doesn't make sense to me. The conversation that he says that took place... Pay careful attention to my question. The conversation about possible future relationship you say never took place when you were lying in bed, that conversation...
We weren't lying in bed together. It wasn't like that. It wasn't, it wasn't like that. We weren't laying there having some torrid affair. It wasn't like that.
How did you get in from, how many rooms do you have,
His
sir?
bed stands up about this high.
What?
We're leaning.
2 bedrooms.
You have 2 bedrooms.
Correct.
So you came in, fireplace. Where's the fireplace?
In the living room.
In the living room. All right. Would you explain to me how you got from the living room into the bedroom?
We walked in there together.
What did you think you were going into the bedroom for?
He was showing me something on the wall. He has pictures on the wall. He has certificates on the wall.
So you were... Now, where were you... Just a sec. Hey! You're making this up as you're going along.
No, I'm not making this
up. Sure you are. Sure you are. I mean, nothing is worse than a woman being sexually abused. A woman says no, it's no.
That's right.
Woman says no, it's no. But I'm not convinced, madam, that you're telling me the truth. Because if you're going in to return somebody's jacket... You return the jacket, here's your jacket, I'm going to meet my boyfriend. You end up in the bedroom looking at etchings, right? Then you have a problem. Then I begin to question everything that you're telling me because even according to you, you ended up in the bedroom. Where were you doing the hugging and kissing and smooching?
In the living room.
And then right in the middle of the hugging and kissing and smooching, he said, I'd like to show you my etchings in the bedroom.
It's time to slow down.
Just a second. Then he said, I want to show you my etchings in the bedroom. And so you decided to go. Were you dressed or undressed when you went into the bedroom?
Dressed.
Fully dressed?
Mostly dressed.
Oh, give me a break.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
What you're telling me is you wanted to leave?
I wanted to leave.
She didn't want to leave.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. William Spadero says Ann Smith bit him. She says she was raped.
You spoke to the district attorney in this case. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
And did you indicate to them that you wish to press charges in this case?
I decided to drop it.
Any particular reason?
Yeah, I'm not going to go through 2 years of court fighting over something like this.
Okay.
May I add something, Your Honor?
Yeah.
The district attorney told me she had no
Don't
case.
tell me what the district attorney said. That's hearsay.
Okay.
Because is it Spadaro?
Spadaro, correct.
Mr. Spadaro, you don't get any awards for gallantry, sir. Because according to your complaint, which I read, and quite frankly, as a woman, I wasn't too thrilled with, you said you really weren't interested in a relationship with this lady even before she came to return your jacket. But as long as she was there, you gave it a shot.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it sounded. It's not what you said, but that's pretty much what I read between the lines, right?
Correct.
And then you gave it a shot, and assuming that everything you're telling me is accurate, that you are lying in bed and she says to you, listen, we're going to be going out or we're going to have a relationship. And at that moment, you decide to tell her, I don't think we're compatible. That doesn't sit too well with a woman.
I told her prior to that.
Well, if you told her prior to that, sir, then you have to think with what's up here, not what's down here.
You don't have to go. I understand.
And you say, thank you very much for my jacket. Goodbye.
She didn't bring the jacket at that time.
Then you say, go get my jacket and come back when you have it. Do you understand, Mr. Spadaro?
Correct.
Instead of saying, well, I have nothing to do between the hours of 8:30 and 9:30, so, either I can have a bite to eat or I can, bed down Miss Smith. Not smart, not nice, not chivalrous, In any event, you can't bite him, Miss Smith. And you did bite him.
Of me.
And you did bite him,
You didn't
madam.
let me finish telling you.
He was on top of you and what?
After he'd finished calling the police,
Uh-huh.
that's when he grabbed me and he said, you're not going anywhere. You're crazy. I'm going to make sure that they take you and put you away. He grabbed me and then he threw me down and he forcibly sat on top of my chest,
and
holding both of my arms.
What you're telling me is you wanted to leave?
I wanted to leave.
You wanted to leave? Well,
Yes,
he wanted you to
I
leave.
wanted to leave,
Just a minute,
too.
he says he wanted you to leave.
I wanted to leave, too.
Why didn't you let her leave?
She didn't want to leave.
No, why wouldn't he let me leave?
Did you go to the hospital that day?
I went home. My pops came back with me to get my car, and I stayed in bed for a whole week. This ruined my Christmas. My daughter didn't get a Christmas. I ended up taking psychotherapy for all this. I have the bills right here.
You have your therapy bills from before this incident?
No, I didn't take therapy before this.
Well, in any event, whether you did or whether you didn't, I'm telling you that I doubt the veracity of your story. And that's what I'm here to do. Your story doesn't make sense. It's not common sense. It's not what happened that day.
It doesn't make sense to me either.
Well, it doesn't make sense for a woman to go over to somebody's house on their way to meet their boyfriend and to end up half naked, walking into their bedroom, looking at etchings, right? That doesn't make sense to me.
This is not a joke.
I'm telling you, I don't think it's a joke. That doesn't make sense to me, madam. That's what you want me to believe. You want me to believe that you were there merely to return his jacket as a friend. Right? That's what you...
Actually, I'm not here to have a good time. Okay. I'm not.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
In any event, your medical bills were $539, sir.
The emergency room. Then I had additional physician at the hospital.
Uh-huh.
You had somebody did the blood analysis.
Uh-huh.
Then there was a physician that met with me. He ran some HIV tests.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure all those bills are there, Your Honor. The different
Well, you got $539. You got $80.
He had bitten.
You got $80. You got $71.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
I saw it all. Part of this you are responsible for, sir. You exercised very poor judgment.
That's correct.
So you have to assume at least part of the responsibility. Don't you believe you do?
Sure.
Good. So I'm giving you $200. That's all.
Okay.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I think it's a travesty that something like this can happen, because when a woman says no, that means no.
It wasn't a rape.
No is no.
You know,
no
it
means
wasn't a
no.
rape. This girl was
Doesn't mean
consensual.
yes, dude. No.
This lady was consenting to the whole thing. That's why she had actually come over. She didn't return a jacket. She wanted to have the sex, and she wanted a relationship.
Parties on Villa versus Casares. Step forward, please.
Beauty salon owner Jill Villa claims her manicurist Erica Caceres quit before her one-year lease was up. Erica says Jill turned the salon into a shopfront church for gangsters.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is number 103 on the calendar in the matter of Villa versus Caceres. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Villa, you have a beauty salon. And according to your complaint, you rent space in that beauty salon to independent contractors.
Right.
Such as the defendant, who is a nail specialist.
That's nice.
You rented her space in your salon at the rate of $200 a month. Is that right?
Right.
You say that and it was a 3-year lease.
It was a 1-year lease.
It was a 1-year lease.
Mm-hmm.
1-year lease. You say that she left after a relatively short period of time. She owes you somewhere over $2,000 for rent.
Right.
You say she left. She says that she was asked to leave. So, tell me first about this establishment and how it works.
Okay. I have a salon. I do hair. I have 4 stations. I have pictures of those. And I have 1 space for nails.
And what's the financial arrangement that you have?
Basically, they just rent that space from me, and they take care of their insurance, their taxes, everything to run a business.
Okay, how did you find each other?
I went into a beauty supply store. I saw her nails. She does great nails. And I was looking for a nail technician at the time, and I asked her if she would be interested in booth renting a space for me. And she came in and signed a lease and rented for 1 year. And then in December before her year lease was up, in December of '96, I asked her if she would want to sign another lease.
For another year?
Right.
Oh, I see. Okay, when did she leave?
She left in May 14th. So she stayed her whole year. Now, her new lease would have started May through May of '98, and that's the signed one that she has.
Well, tell me your version of what the events were surrounding her leaving and breaking the second
Actually, Your Honor,
year's
they
lease.
were very confusing. I had a staff meeting where I had 2 hair stations available, and I hired 2 hairdressers. So I had a staff meeting with 1 hairstylist and Erica, letting them know that there would be 2 hairstylists starting at Making Waves.
Making Waves is the name of your shop.
Right. Her reaction was very rude. She was obnoxious.
Well,
and
that's your interpretation of her actions. What did she say? What did she do?
She said, I will not work with white women. I'm prejudiced, and I do not like change. And I have a witness to that who heard that. I have 2.
And so what did you say to her?
I said, you haven't even worked with them 1 day. How can you say you're prejudiced against these girls? I just don't like them.
Okay, first of all, when I signed a contract going into a salon, not a church. And that's exactly what the salon turned into.
Explain that to me.
Well, she got religious, which is fine, that's her business. And she had the pastor there all the time.
Who's the pastor?
Right over there.
What were they doing?
Running their church out of the salon.
What does that
That's
mean,
not
running
true.
their church out? Shh.
That's not true.
What does that mean, running their church out of the salon?
They had their own phone line in there. The pastor was always there. The men's home, which is these men that they're trying to, from prison, that they're trying to turn over, I don't know, to make them better men, I guess, were always there. Okay, these are men that have been in prison for really bad
So they were
crimes.
coming into the salon.
Right. So when I have a client sitting there, they're seeing this man there with all these tattoos on his neck, all these men. They don't want to be there. They're uncomfortable. My clients came in to get their nails done, not to be preached to. And what they did is preach God to my clients. My clients did not want to hear about God.
While they were having their nails done?
Yes, they have.
Step up here, sir.
And Jennifer's witness to that.
Get to you in a minute. Tell me your name.
Robert Dominguez.
Mr. Dominguez, when did you become involved with this salon?
When Jill and her husband first started coming to our church, and
when was that?
That was in '96. Jill had offered me a corner there to have a phone there so that I can do business and make contact with people for the crusade that we were organizing.
Tell
for
me
that
about
city.
the crusade.
What a crusade is there is we reach out to the gang members, the drug addicts, those that are considered outcasts of society. And during that time, since we were just beginning there in that city and finances at the time were very, very short, so Jill had offered me a corner, and she offered me to that I could put a phone there. And from that point on, one thing I need to make clear is I don't force the gospel on anybody. People ask me, and I in turn respond.
Sir, I am correct, therefore, that when you say you reach out to gang members, you reach out to drug addicts, and you reach out to former prison inmates, you reach out to them and ask them to come in so that you can counsel them. Is that correct?
Witness to them.
Witness to them, counsel them, whatever. And you were doing this witnessing or counseling in this salon.
No, it wasn't. No, not in the salon.
Are you telling me, sir, that you never had any of these people who you were trying to reach come into the salon?
No.
They never did?
No. The men's home were there during the crusade. I wasn't counseling them. I wasn't witnessing to them. They were part of the workforce of helping me organize this crusade.
Mr. Dominguez, maybe we're not understanding each other, sir. Did the people that you were involved with, either people who were reformed and then reaching out, or the people that you were reaching out to, ever come into the salon?
Yes, they did.
That's right. And they came in, you spoke to them, they spoke to each other,
We had conversation.
Did you ever speak to any of the defendant's clients while they were having their nails done or while they were waiting to have their nails done?
When I was asked. When
What
I
do
was
you mean?
asked, when I was asked either by Erica, or I was either introduced to them, or they would ask me questions once they
That's a
found-
lot of oars. Step up. Who are you?
Jennifer Lopez.
Jennifer, how were you involved in this operation?
I also worked at the salon and was asked to leave.
Why?
Because I was an evil spirit.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You changed the establishment from a beauty salon, hair and nails, to a beauty salon, hair, nails, and redemption.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Manicurist Erica Casares says she quit her lease at Jill Villa's beauty salon because Jill turned the place into a church for outcasts.
You were an evil spirit? Who told you that?
Erica.
That's what they stated.
That's not true, Your
Jill
Honor.
stated that to me.
That is not true,
Yes, it
Your
is
Honor.
true.
Just a second.
Can I say why she was dismissed?
Were you a hairstylist?
Mm-hmm.
She was dismissed because she came into my shop intoxicated with
No.
a male gentleman with her. She was stealing from Erica because Erica kept saying how she's stealing all my nails.
No.
She's stealing all my nails. She was stealing my
stuff is
nail
locked up.
accessories.
Just a second. I really want to find out. Now I know you were a hairstylist. You were either
spirit. Give me a
dismissed or you
break.
left, whatever it is.
Give me a break.
I want you to tell me about
That's a good
this
one, Erica.
group that was running inside the salon in addition to hair and nails.
Okay, she moved the pastor in a desk, so we all had to move stations because there wasn't enough room. It's a very small salon. And then we would talk about God. They play Christian tapes all day, and I think it's great, but you know it shouldn't have been mixed in with our business.
When you say playing Christian tapes all day, you mean over the whatever PA system you had? Instead
That's
of
not true. I had a little radio by my station. Your Honor, both these ladies on their own came to our church. They were part of our church.
That's good.
Yeah,
No,
that's
that's
great.
good. That's,
I never.
That's fine because that's where the church
I never
belonged.
heard that there was a problem. I never heard that there was a problem in the salon. Never.
Ms. Casares, I've heard from Ms. Villa about what she recalls of the time that you told her that you were leaving. I'd like you to tell me about the day.
She asked me to leave.
Well, tell me about it.
I just told her I was no longer happy there. You can't tell Jill nothing about the church.
So you told her you were not happy?
Right.
And what, and?
To go back, before I signed the contract, she stated in front of me, Jennifer, and Mary Alice, anytime we were not happy, we were allowed to leave. She was holding nobody to their contract. She had done that before, and she didn't want nobody else to be there that were not happy.
Okay.
So we had a verbal agreement that when we were not happy, we can let her know and we can leave.
Well, let me tell you what the law is. The law is when you sign a contract, and it's a contract for property, you can't go outside that contract for an interpretation. So whatever you sign is what you're bound to. Do you understand?
Yeah,
that's why we have contracts, and that's why we have laws surrounding contracts. You call what you're suggesting we call parole evidence, which means evidence that goes outside the four corners of that document. And you can't do that. So I want you to be smart the next time. You don't sign an agreement with the understanding, well, we have a side agreement, which is if you're not happy, you can break this contract. Because that doesn't make sense. If that's your agreement, then what do you need a contract for? Right? If your agreement is, if you're not happy, you can leave, then why would she ask you to sign a contract? You understand?
She needed it for books or something.
Baloney. Come on. Ms. Casares, but I'd like you to tell me about this phone conversation that you had. You told her you were leaving because you weren't happy.
Right.
And then she called you on the phone and said, tell me why you're not happy.
I just told her. I said, it's because of the church thing. I can't handle it being in there. I was losing clients. Without clients, I make no money. With no money, I cannot pay rent. That's just, and you can ask her, last month, I was so slow there. And it's because I was losing clients. I have statements here.
I can't read statements.
And then,
statements are not admissible.
Well, after that, she just asked me, when I told her about the church thing, she goes, when can you be out of here? So to me, that was throwing me out by asking me when I could be out of there. So I told her. I turned around, I looked at my husband, I go, when can we go get my stuff? He said, right now. I went and picked up my stuff. I was out of there. That's all the phone conversation was.
When you signed your contract in December, your renewal
I signed
contract.
my contract in February because my contract was up in February.
Okay, so you signed it in February. By the way, can I see it, please? Ms. Casares, listen to me very carefully. You signed this contract December 20th, 1996 is the date you signed it, not February.
Okay, February was my contract was up, my first one. Then never.
She said it was up in May.
No, my first one was up in February.
Just a second. No. No.
Yours is
Ms.
up in
Casares,
April.
you got to get it straight. You signed this in December. Your first lease was not up until May. This is for a year after that. Now, what I want to know from you is, when for the first time did Mr. Dominguez come into the shop?
Maybe in February or March. February, I don't know. I don't know when he came in.
Did he come in before or after you signed this new lease?
After.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
You came in after she signed this lease?
In March of '97.
Okay. Ms. Villa, let me tell you what your problem is, madam.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She ran into my shop and said, guess what? Brian down the street wants me, and he wants me bad.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
I'm not sure, nor will I ever be certain, of the reason that Ms. Casares left, whether you asked her to leave or whether she said, I'm leaving. She contracted for space in a beauty salon, not a beauty salon / mission. After she signed her lease, you changed the establishment from a beauty salon, hair and nails, to a beauty salon, hair, nails, and redemption. You can't do that.
Your Honor.
Listen to me. You changed the rules.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Can I state something, please? When I asked Robert to take some space for the Stop the Violence campaign, which was only going to last a period of 2 months, I sat down with each one of my stylists and we had a staff meeting, and I told them that he would be joining us, and if there was any problem to please let me know now. I didn't see any problem. If I would have seen a problem and heard that they had a problem with it, Your Honor, I would have stopped it immediately.
Let me
They
ask you this
never
question,
once
Ms.
told
Villa.
me.
Did her business drop off?
Her business was skyrocketing. All the women in my church came to her to get their nails done.
They didn't pay me.
Yes, they did. I took it off your rent.
Ms. Villa, why do you think she would leave a business where she was making money? I mean, maybe I'm
Because
missing
she
something.
got a better
if her
deal down
business
the
was
street.
skyrocketing, why would she leave your business?
Because she got a better deal down the street.
What kind of better deal?
The guy, she had come into my shop, okay? She ran into my shop and said, guess what? Brian down the street wants me, and he wants me bad. He said that he will drop my rent, there won't be any contract, and I can go and work for him. Before she left, she was giving out her calling cards with his name on it and number.
Hold it. Did you go to work down the street?
Yeah, it's about a mile away.
Here's his ad.
I needed a place to take my clients to.
And when you went to work down the street, you went to work under the same conditions that you paid for space?
Yes, it's a salon.
And how much rent did you pay in the space?
The new space? He's charging me $150 now, but it goes up in 6 months to $170. After 6 months, it goes up some more.
So you save yourself at least $50 a month going to him.
Yeah, which I had no problem with finish out my contract with Jill. But once you cannot tell Jill about a church and then her be the same with you. It doesn't work that way.
Well, that's conjecture. You see, now you're coming to conjecture. I was missing something, you see, because you say you had no business. She said you had a lot of business.
No.
Well, Miss Casares, let me suggest this to you, madam. Common sense always plays a very important part in judging. A competitor down the road would not offer you a better deal than you were getting in her place unless you were prepared to bring into that establishment a substantial clientele.
Well, Your Honor.
So you bettered your situation by leaving her. You bettered your situation by leaving her by going to a place where you could have your clients and pay less rent.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
This is a difficult case, and I'm going to tell you why. It's difficult as far as the decision that I make, because, Ms. Villa, you changed the workspace that Ms. Casares contracted for by bringing in this gentleman who ran a different kind of a business within your salon operation. And I believe that that's unfair to do to somebody. And I, quite frankly, can understand why some people who are coming in to have their nails done in what they assume is going to be a predominantly female operation, you know, ladies sitting around having their nails done, etc., having this gentleman there, and a variety of other people who are either in the saving business or trying to be saved. That's disconcerting. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, I'm just saying it's not what she bargained for. On the other hand, I'm not really quite satisfied that his presence there was the only reason that you left. I would suggest that one of the reasons that you left was because you got a better deal down the road. Now, it may have been that you were unhappy with this situation there and you felt as if you would be more comfortable elsewhere. I think that you are responsible for part of the rental on that property. I think that if this gentleman being there is not a drawback, you should be able to rent that space in a relatively short period of time. I'm going to give you 5 months' worth of rent. Do you understand?
Yes.
You see to it that you re-rent the space. And if you can't re-rent the space, you better rethink your position about mixing your business with the church. You may want to keep them separately. You know,
They're no longer there.
They're no longer there? Well, that's good.
It was only for 2 months, which
That's good.
they knew.
All right, the judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused, you may step out.
On the next Judge Judy.
Nothing as far as I'm concerned. I never worked with her.
And I never knew you either.
Party's on Dulce versus Williams. Step forward, please.
18-year-old Vanessa Dulce says 20-year-old landscaper Eric Williams punched a hole in her dashboard, wrecked her car, and threatened her life.
Order, all rise. Yeah, it's case number 60 on the calendar in the matter of Dulce versus Williams. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
You folks were engaged to each other, according to these papers. You are suing him because you say he damaged your car, he damaged your house.
Correct.
Let's start with the car.
I purchased the car on December 6th of '97 for $6,050, and approximately within 2 weeks after I got the car, Eric did a hit-and-run situation.
What do you mean he did a hit-and-run?
We went to my friend's house to pick up a dog that we purchased for him, that we got for our friend James, and when leaving, he did not realize that a car was next to him, and he cut the wheel all the way to the right, hit the car, reversed out extremely fast, and drove off.
And you were with him?
Yes, I was.
So what did you do?
I told him that we should go back and see whose car it was, because it wasn't right, and he insisted not to.
So what are you suing him for?
I'm suing him for the damages done to my car.
Well, what damage was done to your car?
The whole front driver's side fender.
You have an estimate?
Yes, I do. I also have pictures.
Now, I assume you had insurance for this?
No. My insurance won't cover it since I wasn't driving.
Oh, that's not true. That's not true. Why didn't you report it to your insurance company?
In fear of what Eric might do. He told me if I was to tell anybody, do anything, then he would hurt me.
Okay, so this you say happened in December?
Correct.
And were you engaged in January?
Yes.
And February?
February was when we broke off.
When in February?
February 14th, Valentine's night.
Fine. So you were together in December for Christmas, for New Year's, right?
Correct.
Madam, I wouldn't stay with anybody 2 minutes who threatened my life if I told them about an incident. You have insurance for this. That's what you pay for insurance for.
I have only liability. It won't cover the cost of my car.
You didn't let them know the day after the incident about the incident. That's what you're supposed to do, correct?
Correct.
All right. I'm not going to let him make excuses, but I'm not going to let you make excuses either. You were with him in the car. You had a responsibility. Now, you say that she caused the damage to the car.
Yes, she did.
Well, then look here, right
She
in the
hit
eye.
a pole in a parking lot and kept driving.
That is
got to my
incorrect.
house. Got to my house and saw the damages to the car, and she left.
This incident that she's describing to you doesn't ring a
No,
note?
it did not happen.
It didn't happen?
No, it did
Your
not.
Honor.
That's a complete lie.
Who are you?
Hi, I'm Kim. I heard Eric. I've been friends with Vanessa since we were in second grade. She's my best friend, and he did her wrong.
He what?
He did. He's clearly making her look like. There's so many.
Just a second.
Okay.
Just a second. You know anything about this accident?
Yes.
Were you there?
I was not there. I came home from my work, and they were out front, and I said, I looked at the car. I was like, "What happened to this?" And he was like, "Oh, I hit." He's like, "Oh." I'm like, "What are you guys going to do?" And that's.
No, I didn't. Just a second. Would you speak in English, please, and slowly? You came home. You saw the two of them outside.
Yeah, they were outside smoking.
Outside smoking.
Right, their cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "What happened to the car?" Because the car was right out front of her house. And Eric said, "Oh, I hit something." He just said something. I didn't ask, and I was like, "Oh, what are you guys going to do?" And Vanessa kind of just looked at me like, "Just, I'll tell you later," kind of look. And then later on, Vanessa said, "Oh, he just said, don't say nothing, or she'll get it." So I was just like, "Okay." But I heard Eric say, "I hit the car."
You heard him say I hit something.
Something, excuse me.
That's what you said,
Yes.
right? Sit down. Then you say that in addition to this damage to the car, he hit the dashboard of the car when he was angry about something.
Correct.
Which I do admit to.
Well,
Which
why did
shows
you hit
his
the
violence.
dashboard of the car?
Because I was fed up with her attitude, her yelling and screaming.
What was she yelling about?
Who knows? It's a different thing every day.
Well, if you hit the dashboard of the car, then you should know what that particular
I don't-
discussion was about.
I really don't remember.
Have you hit the dashboard of the car before?
No.
You hit anything else before?
No.
That's incorrect. He is hitting me.
Listen, you picked him.
True.
You picked him. I didn't pick him. You know, that's a testament to your bad judgment. First time somebody, according to you, does something like this and doesn't accept responsibility for what they do, this is serious, right?
Correct.
And I would say to myself, if I was a smart girl, I would say to myself, is he going to be responsible when we have children? Is he going to be responsible about working? Is he going to be responsible in teaching our children the right from wrong? I mean, all these things would go through my head. Does that sound right to you?
Yes.
You did none of that.
Correct.
All right. So you picked him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's gotten violent on quite a few occasions and told me if I were to leave him, he would come, he would kill me, he would jump off a bridge.
He would jump over a bridge? So what do you care if he jumps off a bridge? What does that bother you?
And later today.
I'm an accountant.
An accountant. Where did you go to school?
Where did I go to school?
That's my question.
I choose not to disclose that information.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Vanessa Dulise is suing her former fiancé, Eric Williams, for damaging her property and threatening her life.
Now, let's get back to you. So you have this little bit of a temper because you can't tell me what the argument was about, but you know you hit the dashboard. Now, do you have an estimate for the dashboard?
That's in with the total price of my car damages.
Can I comment on that? It
Yes,
cannot
sure.
be in with the total price of the damages because I called to try to get a dashboard and pay for the dashboard here, but it is now discontinued, which means they do not make it and it cannot be fixed.
So it just a second. So it can't be fixed.
No, it cannot.
Well, let me see if do I have a picture of this dashboard?
Yes, there's a picture in there.
Yes, there is.
Oh, I see. You mean he hit the top of the dashboard?
Yes.
This is the picture of the dashboard?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Oh, you must have been very angry, Mr. Williams.
Yes, I was.
You got to learn to control that testosterone, sir.
It's true.
Now, you also said that he caused some damage in your house.
Yes, my mother's home.
No.
Yeah. You want to tell me about that? And do you have estimates for the damage?
I have estimate. Unfortunately, I did not bring it with me.
Then I can't help you with it.
Okay. Okay. Fight broke out. This was on December 13th, day before Valentine's Day, and he got extremely enraged and violent, and he punched me in my stomach, punched me in my leg, put a pillow over my face, and thrustfully pushed down. He broke my cellular phone with his two hands in half. He punched a hole in my closet door. He ripped my engagement ring off my finger, threw them down the toilet, and flushed the toilet. He, on another incident, took his head and banged his own head into a wall, which, as you can see...
You said on another incident.
Yes.
This was before Valentine's Day?
Yes, this was before Valentine's Day.
So before Valentine's Day, he did what?
He took his head and hit it into a wall, his own head.
Probably didn't cause any damage to him.
Oh, yes, it did. He has a big head.
You didn't listen to what I said.
To me.
Oh, to him?
Yeah.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, right. Just to the wall.
Can I show you something
Listen
else?
to me.
Go ahead.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
Listen to me. You're supposed to use your noodle.
True.
He, according to you, does this to your dashboard because he's annoyed. He does this to your car and untold damage to somebody else's car without accepting responsibility. He uses the wall in your mother's house as a battering ram, or uses his head as a battering ram, right?
Yeah.
None of that phases you.
Oh, it phases me.
Enough to show him his walking papers.
Fear.
Fear.
Fear was more of what he might do. He's gotten violent on quite a few occasions and told me if I were to leave him, he would come, he would kill me, he would jump off a bridge, he would do all these horrible things. So out of fear, I could not leave.
He would jump over a bridge? So what do you care if he jumps off a bridge? What does that bother you? If he tells you he's going to throw you off a bridge, that I can understand. Who are you?
I'm his sister.
You're his sister?
Yeah, she says she's afraid of him to break up with him. After she broke up with him, she calls my house 5 times a day.
That's
comes
incorrect.
to my house. We have a police report that she was harassing him.
Well, let me see the police report.
She
let
won't
me see
leave
the
him
police
alone.
report. You have an order of protection against him?
Yes, I do.
When was it issued?
24th day of February, which I have a copy of.
Can I comment on that protection from abuse order? If she was so scared of me and she got the protection from abuse order, why didn't she turn it into the police stations?
Can I comment that if he thought that he was unguilty of that, why did he go to the court and sign it, not even go to trial?
So you would leave
That way you would leave me alone.
Just a second. Mr. Williams,
Yes.
you went to court
Yes, I did.
when she filed this complaint against you.
Yes, I did.
Did you go alone or did you go with someone else?
I went by myself.
No, he did not.
Hey.
No, I'm sorry. My two friends, my
See?
little brother and my best friend, waited in the cafeteria for me.
Okay, so you went with some moral support, but you went and saw a judge?
A legal assistant.
Legal assistant. And the legal assistant advised you that you had the right to go to trial on this request?
Yes, she did.
Or that you could consent to her having the protective order. Is that right?
And that's exactly what I did.
And that's what you did.
That way she would have to leave me alone.
That's incorrect.
No, that way you have to leave her alone.
Well, either way, we were away from each other.
No, that way you had to leave her alone.
Okay.
Listen. Have you called his house for any reason?
No, not.
No.
Wait,
Get up.
I have
You
called
said,
his house only if he has paged me.
Wrong.
He has paged me
No,
the
just
other
a second.
day.
Wrong.
Just,
no.
hey, Mr. Lease.
Yes.
If he paged you and if you were afraid of him, then you don't return his calls. Is there any reason for you
Can
to
I
return his
comment?
call? Just a second. Is there any reason for you to return his calls?
Only if he's paging me at 4 o'clock in the morning with, we'll say, obscene things, which I haven't.
Just a second. So he calls you at 4 o'clock in the morning with obscene things, and you call him back.
Well, I have his number blocked from my phone, so he cannot call me. But he will go to his friend's house and call me from his friend's house, which directly is where I pick up the phone and he is there on the line.
You know, I don't believe you.
Well, I'm telling the truth.
No, you know, I don't believe you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You think I'm giving you anywhere near $4,600 when you told me you paid $6,000 for the whole car? There's damage to one fender of the car. What do you think, I'm crazy? What do you think, I'm out of my mind?
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Vanessa Dulise claims Eric Williams damaged her car and home. Eric says Vanessa is a liar.
If you're afraid of somebody and you have an order of protection, man, that's the only reason you're supposed to go to court, to get an order of protection, because you're afraid of somebody. Then if they call you threatening you, using obscenities at 4 o'clock in the morning, what you do is you go to the police and you say he has violated the order of protection. You don't return his call. You don't return his call.
I'm very fearful of him. He gets his friends to follow me around school and to give him a daily report if I go to school or not.
Then you have no reason to call him back. And I do believe that you've called the house.
Yes, she has.
That was a long time ago.
How long ago? After February 14th?
That's right.
Hey,
Sorry.
after February 14th?
Once or twice, yes.
Once or twice, yes. Oh, all right. Listen to me, sir. You're really not a very good person. When you do damage to not only her car, I would almost let her deal with it herself, but you caused damage to somebody else's car.
I didn't do that.
Yes, you did.
No, I did not.
Oh, yes, you did.
Okay.
Oh, yes, you did. You caused damage to somebody else's car. They weren't looking and you just drove away. You know how irritating that is? You know how irritating it is to come out and find somebody scraped by your car, somebody damaged your car and didn't have the courtesy to put a note in your car, I'm sorry for this accident. This is my phone number where you can reach me. Irritating.
Can I please?
Irresponsible. Say
Can I please make a
nothing.
comment?
Say nothing. Irresponsible. I am not charging you, sir, for the damage to her house because she doesn't have any bills to establish to my satisfaction that they were fixed or what the estimates are. She knew she was coming to court today. She didn't bring them, so that I can't help her with them. And I also think, Ms. DeLeese, that you have some responsibility for the damage for your own car. Some. Because you were in the car, it was in fact your car, and you chose to remain silent. You chose to remain silent because he was your fiancé. Now, the estimate that I have is a grand total of $4,600. And I
have another estimate.
Let me see it.
He has it in his hand.
Let me see it.
He hasn't taken my car to get that.
Yes, I have.
That's incorrect.
The day after it happened.
The day after it happened.
She wasn't even there.
Hey, don't talk to each other. You're irritating me. Well, these are two completely different kinds of estimates. When did you take this car in for an estimate, sir?
Approximately a couple days after it happened.
And what prompted you to take the car in for an
She
estimate?
was right next door at the dentist.
Yeah.
And right next door to the dentist is a collision repair place.
So you took it in 2 days after what?
After the accident happened.
It's incorrect.
Just, hey.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Madam, you think I'm giving you anywhere near $4,600 when you told me you paid $6,000 for the whole car? There's damage to one fender of the car. What do you think, I'm crazy?
I have another
What do you think, I'm out of my mind?
The bumper, too.
I have another estimate
What do you-
here. The
Listen
car's
to me.
only worth
Listen to
$2,000.
me. You know, you two,
Friends'
the truth of the matter is you two people really deserve each other.
No, we
Because
don't.
you really
No.
deserve each other because
You
you,
don't
sir,
deserve me.
because you, sir, just said to me, 2 days after the accident,
That's
2
right.
days after the accident, you mean the accident when she hit the pole?
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Break.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. And also today,
You have a limit on your credit card?
Of course.
How much?
I choose not to disclose that.
want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Your estimate is $1,371. Her estimate is $4,700. It's probably somewhere around $2,000 to fix this whole thing. It's a pretty bad hit.
You can call the place that I have. It's a legal company.
The dashboard
I don't have,
alone.
just a second, I don't have to take one estimate. I have 2 estimates here.
Right.
I have 2 estimates for the same thing, and hers does not, and yours does not include the dashboard. Right?
Okay.
I also have a second estimate.
Judgment is issued in this case for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
You are excused. You may step out.
Can I have my papers?
And now the next case.
Bodies on K versus Rodriguez. Step forward, please.
19-year-old preschool teacher Carrie Kay says her former best friend, 21-year-old accountant Jamie Rodriguez, cheated her by running up a cell phone bill in her name.
You 2 ladies were very good friends.
Yes.
Yes.
How old are you?
19.
19.
Yes.
And you?
21.
According to your complaint, you opened a cell phone account for your friend.
Yes.
She ran up a $1,400 bill
Yes.
and damaged your credit.
Well, it hasn't been damaged yet.
But you're afraid it will be.
Yes.
You work?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a preschool teacher.
Do you work?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm an accountant.
An accountant. Where did you go to
Yes.
school?
Where did I go to school?
That's
I
my question.
choose not to disclose that information.
Did you get a license? Did you graduate from college? You said you were an accountant. I'm asking
Oh, I'm
these
not a
questions
certified
for...
accountant. I'm not certified.
Well, what are you?
I'm an accountant, but I'm an accountant in training. But my position allows me to work while I'm in training.
What do you need a cell phone for?
For in case there's an emergency, and also my cell phone had a pager on it, so I would use it to receive pages.
Why didn't you open up your own cell phone account?
Well, because at the time I had needed a deposit, so I had asked her, and they said to put it on a credit card. So I'd asked her if it was possible for her to make the deposit for me.
Didn't you have your own credit card?
Yes, I did.
So why didn't you put it on your credit card?
Okay, because at the time I was going to use it for something else. That I needed to do something else with it. So.
You have a limit on your credit card?
Of course.
How
That's
much?
why.
How much?
I choose not to disclose that.
She ran up a bill?
Yes.
The bill was how much?
$1,467.07.
I choose to disclose this. You owe her $1,467. Case is over. Goodbye.
You are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It was a big shock. I was very upset. I was very bothered by it. We had a best friendship. I mean, we did everything. We just went to Seattle for New Year's. We've gone everywhere, done everything. I mean, we've been best friends for 10 years. I'll still be friends with her, but I'll never be able to trust her.
Bodies on Thompson versus Thompson. Step forward, please.
Mrs. Doyle Thompson and her younger son, Daryl, are suing her older son, Derek, for $5,000 they loaned him to get out of jail after he beat his girlfriend.
Order, all rise. Judge, this is number 11 on the calendar in the matter of Thompson versus Thompson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Well, this is a rather unfortunate intra-family dispute. According to this complaint, Mrs. Thompson, this is one of your sons.
My oldest son.
And this is your youngest son.
Right.
And it says here that you and your youngest son laid out $5,000 in bail money for the defendant.
Yes.
Who was incarcerated at the time for what, sir?
Domestic violence.
Against this lady?
Yes.
Who is now your witness?
Yes.
And you asked your mother and brother to bail you out.
Yes.
So what happened?
Okay, he told us that he would be receiving over $3,000 income tax money and that he would be able to pay us back.
He called you from jail?
He was calling us from jail every day.
How long had he been in jail at this time?
He had been in there almost 2 months. I guess about 7 weeks.
So this wasn't the first time you had been arrested for domestic violence, is
No,
that right? How many times have you been arrested for domestic
3.
violence? 3 times.
Yes.
In what period of time?
Like all 10 years.
All involving this lady?
Yes.
This time they kept you in,
Yes.
and you called your mom.
Yes.
So what did you do?
Okay, he was calling me twice a day, and then he was wanting to speak to Stacy, his lady. He wanted to speak to her and the children, and I was allowing because they didn't have a phone. So it ran my bill up to over $400. I'm sorry, it ran it up to $442 in telephone collect calls.
From jail?
And yes, from jail. So she came over and she told...
How close do you live to her?
Across the street. Across the street and maybe 2 buildings down. And he was asking about bailing him out because she was saying that they weren't getting along. I mean, that she was not going to be with him when he came out. And
Stop playing with the paper, sir. Put them down.
And she mentioned another man that she was seeing. And so I mentioned it to Derek, and he felt that he had to, he wanted to be out. He didn't want me to say anything about what was going on over there. In the meantime, she also brought over, they've been together for 6 years living, and she brought over 3 big plastic bags of clothing of his. And she said because when he came out, she didn't want him back there. And
well, so far that sounds smart, but I have a sense that changed.
Yes. So in the meantime, he was calling to ask us if we would bail him out.
So you did. Who put up the money?
My son Daryl put up $2,000. He moved in with me rather than find another place to let his brother have the $2,000 that he was borrowing. And the $3,000 balance, I had to put a lien on my home to put up to make the full amount of the $5,000.
What did you do with the $5,000? Tell me physically, what did you do with it once you had it?
We bailed Derek out.
How did you do that?
We used the bail bondsman.
We used the bail bondsman.
And the bail bondsman wanted the whole $5,000?
No, he wanted $2,000 at first, which I had paid up cash, and $3,000 later deferred in payments, which he was supposed to make arrangements to pay back.
And I had to put the lien in my home.
And she put her home up also
as collateral.
Yes, yes.
Was that domestic violence matter finally resolved?
No, it is not.
Well, you get that money back as long as he shows up in court, less a fee.
You don't get the 10% back.
We're talking about just the 10%.
Yes, you don't get the 10% back. We have it right here.
His bail was $50,000.
Yeah,
and we had to put $5,000 there. The $5,000 we don't get back.
Your bail was $50,000?
Yes.
Let me see the papers. This must have been some domestic violence. They don't give murderers $50,000
He had another charge also.
What?
Child molestation or whatever.
Yes.
Right. And then we did bail him out for that. He is out on bail.
Which child?
I don't know.
One of his children?
No.
No.
I don't know about it.
Yeah, you had $50,000 bail. That's what it says.
Yes, and we did put up $5,000.
And we had to put up $5,000.
Which he does owe us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another thing, he had said that he was going to pay us back once he got his tax returns, and he had went and filed his taxes.
And this is the
She
proof
has the proof showing that he had received his tax, getting back his income tax money without paying us back the cash money, which we had put up, which he had promised to pay back. Because personally, I had talked to him like twice over the phone. He was saying, "Well, if you bail me out, I promise as soon as I file my taxes, I'm gonna pay you right back or whatever else. I got so and so amount waiting for me."
Did I not offer you $1,000? I had $1,000 of dollars and I gave it to you.
No, you didn't pay me anything.
Don't talk to each other. Talk to me.
Okay.
Yes, you both acknowledge that he offered you $1,000.
He offered me $1,000. I told him I wanted $2,000, which he had owed me, not part of it in payment.
Is your mother's house still collateral for this bail?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Well, why haven't you paid anything to the bail bondsman?
Oh, well, how am I supposed to? I lost my job when I got out.
He gets unemployment.
Just a second.
I do.
But where did you get the $1,000 from?
I was working part-time, and I made $1,000.
So why didn't you just pay that to the bail bondsman to at least take $1,000 off the lien that your mom had on her house?
I guess I wasn't thinking about it.
It sounds to me like you've done a lot of not thinking.
I had made arrangements with the bail bondsman to make payments.
So how many payments did you make to the bail?
I have made none.
Let me understand this. You made arrangements with the bail bondsman to make payments, but you haven't made any.
Yes.
Why not?
Well, I made arrangements with the bail bondsman. He said when I get it, then they give it to him.
But until that time, sir, your mother is on the hook. Why don't you just make the payments to the bail bondsman? Why didn't you give the bail bondsman $1,000 and say, this is on account, take $1,000 off my mother's lien on her house?
It's true.
But in the meantime, he's received the $3,000 tax money that he didn't pay
me back. He said he
What'd you do with
I received $3,000.
Just a second.
He got a van fixed, and it was over $2,000 worth of damage on it.
He took the money and blew it.
No, number one, the van was not, her mother paid for the van to get fixed.
Thank you.
I didn't pay for anything.
Step up here. How can I ask you a couple of questions?
Thank you very much.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I really feel sorry for your 4 children. God, 4 children. Don't
Well, I
realize the
feel sorry
mistake
for them.
after you have 1 or 2 or 3. You gotta have 4 children with him. Gee whiz.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Daryl Thompson and his mom are suing his brother Derek for money they say they paid to bail him out of jail.
How many children do you have with him?
4.
4 children with him. And how many times have you had him arrested for domestic violence?
Oh, a couple.
What?
A couple.
A couple is 2. How many?
I don't know, 2, 3 times, a couple.
About 8 times.
Excuse me. It has
Just
never
a
been
second.
8 times.
Just a second.
You want to see 8 times?
Let me ask you this.
She
Look
even
in the
broke her
records.
hand
Thank
once
you.
trying to hit him.
Just a second.
This is why we were splitting up, because of our problems. So I took my stuff over to his mother's house because that's where he was going to be staying. As far as me having another man, that's none of their business.
Just a second.
That was between her.
What my problem is, based upon the answer to their complaint and your counterclaim, because you say there was an argument, you came over to get your money, and you say she hit you in the face.
Yes.
That suggests to me that you took him back when he got out of jail.
No.
Yes, you did.
I did. Excuse me.
Shh. Go ahead.
No, I did not take him back. He stayed at my house for 2 times because I care about him a great deal. He is my kid's father. I let him stay there. Fine. I had no problem with it. We were still separated at this time. The whole time that he was at my house, it was like a jealousy thing that she had. The whole time he was at my house, I was not even away. I was not even there.
We just want the money back, primarily.
Just a second. Just a second. Tell me about your countersuit. Let me hear the countersuit.
Oh, I have a countersuit because when she came over one day, you know, she kicked him out of the house because she said he was staying at my house.
That's not the reason for the countersuit.
I'm getting there. I'm getting
I did
there.
not kick him out.
Hey,
You brought my clothes.
listen to me.
Well, she had, at this point, she had told her dad that I had supposedly disrespected her when he brought the clothes over. I'm getting to the part. Thank you.
Just get to it fast. You're standing
Okay, well,
out on the
she
front
came over
lawn.
to my house and accused me of not letting him see the kids. He was at my house seeing the kids. So I went downstairs to confront her about it, and I told her, I said, I'm tired of these lies. If you don't like it, get off my property, leave. That's when she swung at me.
And where did she hit you?
She hit me right here in my left cheek.
And
she also wrote this letter.
Just a second. When she hit you in your left cheek, did you go to the doctor?
No, I went to the police though because I figured I was going to.
Did you go to
no,
the
I
doctor?
didn't. There was no need to.
But you're suing her for $2,000. What are you suing her for $2,000 for?
Emotional distress.
What happened?
Just
All right.
Just that, that she did it in front of her grandchildren, my children, other neighborhood kids. And also I have this letter here saying that she has my social security number, my checking account number, and she's going to do harm to us because the money was not paid. I have no part of this. Why she got my social security number? Why is she going to do this? Can you look at this, please?
And
This
then
isn't
stating
her
how much
handwriting?
I was supposed to pay too.
Yes, it's her handwriting.
She wrote down how much I was supposed to pay back.
Yeah, it went from her money went from $500 to $3,000.
The $500 is what he promised that he would pay back on my telephone bill, plus money that he owed on rings that I let them use my Zelle credit card to buy.
Just a second. Stop. I can't read and listen to you at the same time.
I'm sorry.
This is a very straightforward letter. It says, Derek and Stacy, that's you two.
Yes.
Your tax refund was sent directly to Stacy's checking account with the checking account number, and it was mailed on March 21st.
I don't have a checking account.
We want our $2,500 today. Nothing wrong with this letter. Let me ask you this question. You had him arrested for domestic violence, which means he physically hurt you. How many times?
A few.
How many
Couple.
times did you
3.
sue him? How many times did you sue him?
Have I sued him? I've never sued him.
Why not? He put his hands on you. Why didn't you sue him?
Because the DA automatically picks it up, and I have no...
No. You can go to small claims court and sue him for assault, sue him for hurting you. I assume that he hurt you very badly if he was in jail on $50,000 bail.
No, that's not what
But
$50,000 was
why
for.
are you suing her? And I don't excuse the fact that she slapped you in the face, but you say yourself you weren't injured. Why in the world would I award you $2,000?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm very heartbroken, and I feel very hurt by the not being able to be with my grandchildren anymore.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Darrell Thompson and his mom are suing his brother Derek for money they say they paid to bail him out of jail.
Why in the world would I award you $2,000?
Just for the strain and everything that she's caused on me. My kids don't even want to be around them. I have a little baby.
I want to tell you something about strain. Let's talk about strain. Let's talk about these two people that live right across the street from you. You have 4 children with their father. Every other Monday and Thursday, he's getting arrested for domestic violence. He's also arrested for child molestation. This prize package has $50,000 bail on him. His parents bail him out. His mother and his brother bail him out. Not you, the mother of his 4 children. They bailed him out.
Well, I don't think they bailed him out because supposedly I was with a quote-unquote another guy.
What different? No, they bailed him out.
It's not like he put a gun to their head and told them to do it. They did it on their own.
I want to tell you something. I feel
that
very
has nothing to do with me, though. I shouldn't have to be problems with her or her daughter either.
What I'm telling you is, and you're not listening to me, I really feel sorry for your 4 children. God, 4 children. Don't realize the mistake after you have 1 or 2 or 3. You got to have 4 children with him. Gee whiz. Listen, you're entitled to your money. Your house should not be in jeopardy.
Thank you.
Right? And you bailed your brother out. I assume you did so with the best of intentions.
Yes.
I'm going to suggest something else to you. This isn't the last time he's going to get arrested. That's my sense. Hold on to your house. Hold on to your house.
Yes, I learned a lesson from this.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000, and the countersuit is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back, go to your right, please.
The children are welcome in my house anytime.
Yeah, well, I don't want them over your house. The way you treat this family.
Stacey, okay? We just wanted the money back.
Well, good, you got your money, but you don't have to go through all this other his friends.
Yes.
Excuse me, his friend. Yeah, you better check yourself.
The family can hurt you the most.
Parties on Regas versus Foster. Step forward, please.
Carlos Regas, a massage therapist, loaned money to his neighbor Chris Foster to help pay his mortgage, but says he was never paid back.
You lent him money to make 2 mortgage payments so he wouldn't lose his house. Is that right?
That is correct.
Well, why did you lend him money? Were you friends? Did you know him?
Friends, yeah. I've known Chris for about 1.5 years. When I moved into the neighborhood, I'm renting a house like 2 doors down. And he would help us out, you know, cutting grass, helping around the garage, things like that. And so we became friends. And Then, fortunately, his mother-in-law passed away, and they inherited a house.
They what?
They inherited the house, the house she was living in, yeah. And they came to me, let me know that there was a situation that had aroused, that they found out that the house was 2 months behind in mortgage. They had a friend of the family that was going to be able to help them out. And I said, you know, if you need any help, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. Came to me a few days later saying they couldn't get hold of these people, this friend, if I would help them out. And I said, yeah, sure. You know, what do you need? Say it was 2 months behind. This is the amount we need.
How much?
It was $1,791.60.
And you made, according to your papers, checks payable directly to the mortgage company?
Yeah, to his mortgage company, yes. And I said, you know, I can't afford to lose this money. You know, so don't worry about it. I'll give it back to you within 5 days to 2 weeks, because these people will probably be back in town. I think he said they're on vacation. They'll come back in town. We'll contact them, get the money. I'll pay you back. And that was May 6, 1996.
Why didn't you pay him back the money, or did you?
Oh, no, I haven't. And the reason why that why that transpired is because that the mortgage company is supposed to refinance on the properties so we can get the equity to pay him back immediately.
What does that have to do with him? That's your problem.
I understand you. I do understand you.
Well, why didn't you pay him back the money?
Because, as I said, it's not matter of I don't want to pay back him the money or anything like that. That wasn't a deliberate thing, not to pay back. It's within all my intentions
Well, how many
so.
payments? Listen, sir,
Aye.
Mr. Foster.
Aye.
How many payments? How many $50 payments did you give him in the last year?
None whatsoever.
How many $25 payments did you give him in the last year?
None whatsoever.
Well, that makes you a deadbeat. That makes you a deadbeat, sir. This man who is not related to you by blood, is that right?
Yeah.
Just a friend.
Uh-huh.
For a year. You came to him and you said, I'm in trouble. I don't want to lose this house that I just inherited. Can you help me out for a short time? Is that what you said to him?
Yeah.
He said, sure. Nice man. Listen, I should take your number in case I ever get into any problem. He wrote out checks. Did he ask you to sign a note?
No.
Did he ask you for collateral?
Yes.
What collateral did you give him?
He suggested that we have antique furniture there within the garage. He will take them as collateral for payment or holding them until we can get the money to...
Does he have the furniture now?
He didn't come back and pick them up, my lady.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Let me explain something to you, sir. You have no case. None. He's 100% right. He's a very nice man. And you stiffed him. No?
No.
No, you...
No.
I'm telling you, you stiffed him. Let me ask you this question, sir. Who do you live with?
My wife and my kids.
How many kids?
3 kids.
You feed them?
Sure.
They have clothes?
Definitely.
Where do they get the clothes from?
The store.
Who buys them?
Myself and my wife.
You feed them?
Yes, I do.
Where do they get the food from?
The store. Where we work, we take care of it, yeah.
That's right. Something, goodwill over the last year, an effort, some small effort to show this man that he wasn't taken for a fool would have gone a long way. Something to say, I can't give it back to you, although something happened. But he is not a partner in your misfortune. You just made this perfect stranger a partner in your misfortune. Mr. Regis, you are entitled to your judgment. I am granting you your judgment. You're not even asking for interest. Is that right?
No, ma'am. I just want to get back what I put into it.
Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,791.60. You're a good guy, sir. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And on the next Judge Judy.
That is one thing we both have an understanding of, you know.
It's done. It's over.
Yeah.
I have,
There's no war between us. There wasn't any, you understand? There wasn't any hard feeling animosities on either party. Sure, without any problem.
Parties on Kennedy versus Gadanian. Step forward, please.
Tracy Kennedy, a 28-year-old manicurist, claims her business neighbor, Bijan Gadanian, scammed her into moving out of her premises so he could move in. She says she was promised $3,000 but never received it.
Order, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 107 on the calendar in the matter of Kennedy versus Gadanian. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
All right, well, this is an interesting story. Miss Kennedy, you had a beauty salon that was there prior to the defendant's business moving right next door. Is that right?
His business was actually there, but he just bought it. There was the first owner there when I moved in.
But he was not there
Right.
when you moved in.
Right.
You have a beauty salon. He has a...
Paging and cellular service business.
Okay. And according to your complaint, you were in this salon for about 6 months when the defendant approached you and said that he was interested in expanding his space.
Right. I was in there for a year, and he had been in there about 6 months when he approached me.
Okay, so after a year, he approached you and said...
He pulled me aside on the front porch and said, "Can we talk for a few minutes?" I said, "Sure." He said that he was, wanted to know how long I intended on being in my space.
And how long was your lease, Miss Kennedy?
I didn't have a lease. I was month to month. But I did plan on being there for quite some time.
How much was the rent on it?
$525 a month.
Okay. So the defendant approached you, according to your papers, and said, "I'm interested in expanding my business. Would you like to move?"
Right.
And you said what?
I said I had no intentions of leaving. Then he said I would be willing to compensate you to leave, move your business elsewhere. And I said, you know, let me think about it for a little while, and I'll get back to you. But I really had no intentions at the time of leaving. I had only been there a year.
So?
So I said, let me think about it. 2 days later, I came back to him, and I said, yeah, I think I want to take up your offer. I think that instead of moving someplace else, I'm just going to, you know, go to work for someone else. The market's really hard to find someone in my business right now, and, you know, I would love to just work for someone else for a while. And I said, you know, I need enough money to pay my bills.
What bills?
The loans that I had on the salon. I had one from the bank, and I had borrowed a couple $1,000s from my husband's parents.
So how much did you ask him for?
$3,000 was the agreed amount.
And did he agree to giving you $3,000 if you would move?
Yes.
So he was really buying you out of your space, according to you.
Basically, right.
And what happened, according to your papers,
right,
which I read very carefully, was that eventually you were told that when he went to negotiate his lease with the landlord, he said to him, "I'll give you half of what she was paying in rent."
Right.
The landlord said, "Absolutely not."
Right. He then came next door to me and said the deal's not going to go through, but by then I had already given my girls notice and found another place.
How many employees did you have?
I had 2 girls at the time.
Okay. Ultimately, you did move into that space, sir, is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And you didn't give her the $3,000?
There was no agreement about $3,000, Your Honor.
Well, I'd like to hear your version of what happened.
Okay, I'll be happy to. Actually, she's right. I approached her. We casually asked her what her plans are, and told her about my intentions to move. I need a larger place. And at that point, she says, "Well, I've been thinking of moving. My business is not doing well, and I'll give you an answer. I got to talk it over with my husband. I'll give you an answer." And then a couple days later, she approached me and said, "Yes, indeed, I've talked it over, and I've decided to move." And she asked me for compensation. I said, "Tracy, this is not the right time to talk about anything at all.
No.
I don't even know."
No. Just a sec. Shh. Miss Kennedy. Shh.
I don't even know if I can reach an agreement with the landlord. So please let me talk to the landlord, see if I can reach any agreement with him. And then if there is anything to talk about with you, we'll talk about it.
That doesn't sound right to me, sir.
No, that's not what happened.
Just a second. That doesn't sound logical to me, sir. So what you're telling me is the amount of $3,000, that figure, never came up in your discussion with her?
She threw that number at me.
Okay.
I'm not
So
denying
it did.
that.
So
Yes.
it did come up in your discussion. And you asked her if she would like to relocate because you wanted to expand your business.
That's not in the context it came up, though, Your Honor.
Well, you did, in fact, expand your business into her space.
That's correct, yes.
So this is what we have so
Yes.
far. We have your discussion with her about your wanting to expand, her throwing out a figure, which you acknowledge that she threw out a figure of $3,000. Your statement, well, it's not a good time to talk about it now. I have to talk to the landlord first. Now, did you speak to the landlord?
Yes.
And what was that conversation with the landlord, sir?
At that point, I offered a total of close to
Not a total. I'm not interested in total. I'm interested in what you are telling me under oath that you offered the landlord for her store to rent.
I did not offer landlord a particular price for her space. I
offered for total.
For total.
Oh, okay.
My
We're going to
space.
get. I understand.
I'm sorry.
How much were you paying for your store alone, sir?
$550, $551.
For your store alone.
That's correct, ma'am.
And what did you offer the landlord for both places?
$900.
So, in effect, you offered the landlord substantially less than what she was paying
That's correct, yes.
after she had given notice that she was leaving.
That's correct, yes.
So now you got the landlord by the throat.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Honestly, I had no participation in her moving out.
I'm going to give him a copy of my book.
And later today,
he advertised our show as Playboy Girls of Rock, as Playboy. And they were going to see a bunch of beautiful women in bras and panties.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tracy Kennedy says she moved out of her manicurist salon because Bijan Gidanian promised her $3,000. She says he never paid her and the whole deal was a scam.
The landlord has a tenant that's given him notice. He's got somebody else ready to move in right away. And you were going to get a bargain because you were going to get 2 stores for $900. Was your store the same size as his?
Bigger.
Bigger. So you were going to get her store for $400. You were paying $550 for yours, so the landlord said to you at that point, forget it, right?
Your Honor.
At that, just a second. We understand each other, this gentleman.
I'm glad someone does.
We understand each other, so don't we?
Yes,
So
Your
the
Honor.
landlord said to you, forget it, at first. Then you moved out.
Right.
You moved out in June, correct?
Yes.
When did you move in?
July 1st.
And what rent did you pay?
About $950, close to $1,000.
You're a
Let's
good
say
businessman. Don't, no, not let's say
No, I-
$1,000. Sir, you're a businessman. You know exactly what you pay for rent in this business. So let's not say about the $950. Exactly what do you pay in rent?
Your Honor, the only reason I say about, because the rent itself is the rent, but there are some other triple nets and what have you that figures in that I'm not quite sure. That's what I'm saying about. That's why I say about $1,000. I'm sorry?
Rent.
The rent, the base rent is $950.
Rent!
$950, Your Honor.
So you still got the landlord for a couple of bucks, but he didn't give you the lease right away. Did you sign a lease with him?
Yes, I did, Your Honor. I had a year lease with him.
And you signed another lease for the second space
That's correct, Your Honor.
at a monthly rent of $950.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So the landlord lost that. So where's her money?
There was no money agreed upon, Your Honor, to begin with. She did not have to move. Honestly, I had no participation in her moving out.
No.
All I had with her was just a
God.
casual conversation for her, what are your plans? And she acted upon that.
I'm going to give him a copy of my book. Sir,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
I come from an old business family. My grandfather was in the appliance business years and years ago, and he's been long dead. I adored my grandfather. He liked to call himself a shrewd businessman. Some of the people that he dealt with sort of dubbed him with another name. So I'm aware of what you did. This story has a common sense approach to it. You wanted to expand. This lady was under the impression you were going to take over the same rent that she took over. Nobody would be hurt. She had evidently had enough of being an entrepreneur, enough of being in business by herself. She said, if I can just get out with these loans, I'll go and work for somebody else. And here comes the perfect opportunity for her to do that. And it's a perfect opportunity for you to more than double your space at a lot less rent. Because once she gives notice, the landlord is up a tree. So the only one that comes out ahead in this business is you. That's smart, but not fair to Miss Kennedy. All right, not difficult. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff, who I believe, in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back door to your right, please.
I'm sorry that the judge did not see the con artist in disguise.
She saw you, exactly.
She
If you
could
hadn't made me an offer,
she could
I
have
wouldn't
stayed
have
there.
left.
She could have absolutely stayed there and
No.
forgotten about
No.
leaving.
The judge was
She had
right.
no reason to leave.
You're right. She saw the con artist. Judge Judy's the greatest.
And now the next case.
Parties on Russell versus Heinold. Step forward, please.
32-year-old entertainer Karen Russell is suing booking agent Chuck Heinold for non-payment of a performance fee. Heinold says the act wasn't what was promised.
Miss Russell, according to your complaint, you are an entertainer and have a group of entertainers that you work with. You dance and sing. You have a review kind of act. Is that right? According to your complaint, you performed in Bakersfield and you weren't paid.
That's
Is that
correct.
right?
Mm-hmm.
The defendant is not the person who didn't pay you. The club, according to these papers, stopped payment on the check.
This is true.
So why are you suing him? Who is he and why are you suing him?
This is the booking agent, Chuck Heinold. In my contract with the casino is with him representing me.
With who representing you?
Chuck Heinold representing me.
Let me see your contract. Go ahead.
And when we were doing business with Chuck, he knew at that time the type of show that we were producing. And my biggest complaint is that if we were represented properly, we probably wouldn't be in this situation.
Just a second. Miss Russell, one of the things I didn't understand from your complaint is he is your agent.
Booking agent.
He is your agent.
That's correct.
He didn't get paid. He didn't get the check from the club to give to you. So how could he give it to you? Because it was stopped.
Because he misrepresented us. The casino was not happy with the show. And basically, when I spoke to him the Friday evening, we had technical problems due to the casino's staging and equipment. He told me, don't worry, no matter what, you will be paid. If it has to come out of my pocket, you will be paid.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I'm telling you it's true. You say no, I say yes, I win, I'm the judge.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 32-year-old entertainer Karen Russell is suing booking agent Chuck Heinold for non-payment of a performance fee. Heinold says the act wasn't what was promised.
I'm reading your complaint, and I don't see anywhere in your complaint that he said, don't worry, I'll pay you even if it has to come out of my pocket.
Right. He said, don't worry, I have the balance owed to you, and I will come back on April 5th to pay you.
Well, of course, I understand that. He said he had the balance. He did, in fact, have a check, correct? He had a check from the owner of the club. The owner of the club subsequently stopped payment on the check. Is that correct, Mr. Heinold?
That's right, Your Honor. I have the check right here. I have a copy
I'll take a look
of
at the check. That's not what you said, Miss Russell. What you said to me was he told you that he would pay even if it has to come out of his pocket. That's not true.
Well, that's
'Cause
what
he never said
to
that.
us over the phone.
Just a second.
Okay.
He never said that because that's a very important thing. And if it was true that he said it, it would have been in your complaint.
I have a witness that he did say it. He said it to myself and the partner on the phone conversation Friday night, when I also found out that we were being represented as former Playboy playmates.
Just a second. I'll hear this witness if somebody wants to testify under oath that this man said, don't worry, I'll pay you even if it has to come out of my pocket. Who wants to testify to that? Let me ask you this question. Are you sure you want to testify to that, sir? Are you positive? Stand up here. First, tell me your name.
My name is Juan Llano.
Mr. Llano, I want you to think very carefully, sir. Are you sure that you want to testify that you heard this man say the following words? I will pay you even if it has to come out of my pocket. Did you hear that?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
When I talked to him directly the night before our last two performances.
And you're a member of this group?
Yes, I am. This is my company.
Did you ever say that to them?
No.
Why would he say that to you? You're so full of baloney, you people. Why in the world would your agent tell that to you? When he had a check in his hand from the people who you were working for.
Because I confronted him.
Confronted with what?
I confronted him because I've been in this business for about 15 years, and I know that people write bad checks.
I understand that, but you're suing the wrong person.
We're
Person
suing
who
him
stopped-
for misrepresentation.
What kind of misrepresentation? How...
Former Playboy playmates when we're not.
Who did that? Flyer.
He.
Just a minute. Just a second. Did you print that flyer, Mr. Heinold?
No, ma'am, I did not.
But the casino, when I called the casino, I said, where did you get this information?
Don't tell me what the casino said to you. That's hearsay.
Okay. When I was trying to find out where this came from,
yeah,
the source went back to Chuck Heinold. They got
that's
the
hearsay,
information
madam.
from this.
That's hearsay. That's hearsay. Now, you may have been upset with that, but that's not misrepresentation.
Your Honor.
By him. He did not, unless you can establish to me that he actually printed those flyers and sent them out, that's not misrepresentation.
Your Honor.
What?
He advertised our show as Playboy Girls of Rock, as Playboy. And they were going to see a bunch of beautiful women in bras and panties. That's not our show at all. We have a very classy show. For us to come into the casino and see outside the casino is a huge sign in neon saying Playmates,
Let me ask you this question, sir. Why didn't you leave? If you were unhappy with the promotion, you got there.
We didn't know about the promotion until after the second show.
The problem was, nipping it in the bud, is they were unhappy because they wanted to see the bras and the women, and we don't have a show like that.
You're wasting my time.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You're wasting my time. You're suing the wrong person.
That's not true. He's
Oh,
responsible.
I'm telling you it's true. You say no, I say yes, I win, I'm the judge.
I know.
You are suing the wrong person.
Judge
he
Judy,
did
what
not
about...
Hey, he does not pay you. The club pays you. They cannot, after you work, and you did work for the 4 shows,
Yes, we did.
they cannot give you a check and then stop payment on the check. That's against the law. It's not his check. You don't mind if you don't speak, do you?
No, I'm fine.
Your lawsuit's dismissed. Go sue the right person. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may
Thank
step
you,
out.
Your Honor.
Out the back door to your right, please.
That's
Sir.
ridiculous.
And on the next Judge Judy.
And if you would have not have lied and said, we are Playboy Playmates, the owner came to me specifically and said, well, where's the play? We got people walking up to us thinking we were Playboy. Do I look like a Playboy Playmate? No, and I am not. I have worked so hard in this business to be who I am and to do well.
And I wish you the best of luck.
Agents like you who lie and deceive and rip off artists who are just trying to, I worked for weeks. And for what? To not get paid?
You did get your commission,
and
right,
you got
Chuck?
your commission. Yes,
You did put it in your
You are
pocket.
such a liar. You are such a double-headed,
That's all what we
two-faced
have
liar.
to say.
Parties on Roblek versus Lacey. Step forward, please.
40-year-old casino pit boss Beth Ann Roblek says 44-year-old chef David Lacey broke their engagement. She wants her wedding expenses paid.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 107 on the calendar in the matter of Roblek versus Lacey. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
According to these papers, Ms. Roblek, you met the defendant through a dating service. Within a relatively short period of time, you were living together and planning a wedding.
That's correct.
You say that he broke the engagement, you were left with some wedding bills, and want to be compensated.
That's correct.
You say that the defendant forged some checks of yours.
Yes, Your Honor. I have copies here if you need to see them.
I will in time. And you don't understand what she's suing for.
Well, I can understand she wants to be compensated, but at the same time, I never agreed to a big, expensive wedding. I wanted to keep things down, low cost. We live in Las Vegas, so obviously you can do things a little bit affordable there as far as getting married.
Did you discuss that with each other?
Off and on. I work on board a ship. I'm gone 2 weeks out of the month, and so a lot of times there wasn't a lot of discussion. Things were just done while I was gone.
Well, let me hear what kind of plans that you made and what you spent.
Your Honor, I had put a deposit down on a dress that was $117. I never got the dress. That was just the deposit. I had gotten a dress for my daughter, a deposit.
How much?
Oh, $85 there.
Mm-hmm.
Invitations were $163.91.
All monies that you paid?
Correct.
Okay. Go ahead.
I also contributed $1,600 towards my wedding ring. He contributed $1,000.
Okay, where's the wedding ring?
Right here.
So you have it?
I have it. I would never have spent the money had he not asked me to marry him. That is my point, is I never would have spent this kind of money if he hadn't intended to marry me. And I have these wonderful, beautiful letters that say he couldn't...
Roblek, you may not have intended to buy yourself a wedding ring, but you have it.
Yes.
He paid $1,000 towards it. He says that in his answer. He's not seeking it back because I have no counterclaim. Correct, sir?
That's correct.
So you have the ring, which has been appraised, according to him, for substantially more than the $1,600 that you paid for it. So sell it. Then you're not out any money. You can at least sell it and get your $1,600 back because it costs $2,600 and he put in $1,000. So what other expenses are you at, Ms. Roblek?
During the time he was living with me, I had this $700 phone bill because apparently David was very lonely and was calling everybody he knew in the world. So that was $700 that I was left to pay that he proceeded to write checks to me for and stop payment on them.
Okay. Did you look at the phone bill, sir?
I did not look at the phone bill, but I did not disagree with it. I agreed to pay that money.
Fine, $700.
$750 is what I wrote checks for.
$750. Now, you
he didn't write checks for phone bills.
Just a second.
That's not what he paid.
No, you said that he wrote checks and then he stopped payment
Correct.
on them. Why did you stop payment on them, sir?
Your Honor, September 16th of '97, I reported back to the Gulf of Mexico on the ship that I work on. During that time, I found out that checks number 1223 and 1221 had been written and cashed while I was on board the ship. There was no way of me writing for those. During that time also, there's $750 worth of checks that state phone bill out of this checkbook. I had these checks stopped because they were made out by Miss Roblek, and she also endorsed them on the back. If you care to look at those, that'd be fine.
I absolutely would.
And you can look at my handwriting from the checks I wrote.
Ms. Roblek, before I look at these and compare signatures, et cetera, do you acknowledge that you wrote checks out of his checkbook?
Absolutely not.
You did not?
I did not. I didn't have. His stuff was stored in the garage. He said he was coming back to pick up his things in August after he disappeared one day. He got drunk and disappeared on me.
Where are the canceled checks, sir, for $750?
Well, it's check number 1186, 1192, and 1193.
1192.
And 1193. They're all made out to her.
Right, and those are the stop payment checks that I have the original.
Can I see them, please?
Mr. Lacey is left-handed. He could have very well written those checks to make me look like some kind of fool.
You say that she forged your name on a $750 check.
She wrote those two checks out to herself and signed my name to them.
Assuming she did that, means you still owe her the $750.
I paid $250 of it, as you'll note. The first check did go through.
So according to you, sir, you still owe her $500?
Yes. I never disputed. I never said I would not pay that.
At the end, the letters that I got, he agreed if putting things on hold costs money, he'll pay for it. That was everything with the wedding, too.
Just a second. You didn't have that major expense for the wedding, madam.
But the $1,600 that I put out for this ring, I never would have put out had he not asked me to marry him.
You're not going to get that back, Mrs. Roblet. It's not as if you're out any money. You can sell the ring and certainly get as much for it.
But why should I? He's the one that broke the engagement. He should give me the money for the ring.
Your Honor, the reason I broke the engagement is because I was getting pushed into a corner. I've been through bankruptcy.
No, your mother told you that you shouldn't get married,
Please don't talk to each other.
Could you
Mama said no.
Could you please ask her not to get my mother into this?
No, we will get your mother
involved. I don't appreciate this kind of talk.
Too bad.
This is my shop. Don't talk to him. You want to tell me, sir, because you want to get it off your chest. Why did you break this engagement, according to you?
Just because of the fact that I was getting pushed into the corner. I've stated already, I did not want to get into a large, expensive wedding.
So did you tell her that, sir?
Yes, time and time again.
And what was her response?
Her response was, if we aren't going through this wedding in October, forget it. At that time, I said, I think it's a good idea. We take a couple steps backwards, and I go back to my condominium, which I forgot to add in July of '97. I don't have the receipt, so it's just my word that she went and picked up the rent, which was $600, and I never got that back either.
So you were renting your condo?
Rented it out while I was living with her.
His statement to me was he wanted to go back to his condo so he could lay out by the pool.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
He left the 30th of July drunk and never came back.
Your Honor, could I ask Ms. Roblek to please watch her statements so that I don't have to come back at her like I feel like doing?
And later today,
the minute I walked in the door when I got home, my husband called. I said, I sold your cards. And he flipped out. He said, what? I can't believe it. He didn't even want to know how much I sold them for.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Casino pit boss Beth Ann Roblek wants her wedding expenses paid after restaurant chef David Lacey broke their engagement.
Mr. Lacey, you clearly acknowledge that you owe her $500.
Yes, I do.
And as far as her dress is concerned and her daughter's dress, I am discounting that. But she did spend, and I assume you have a receipt to show me, $163 for invitations. That was non-refundable. Let me see it, please.
Thank you.
When was the engagement broken?
Approximately
July,
August.
End of July.
August.
He left the 30th of July drunk and never came back.
Your Honor, could I ask Ms. Roblek to please watch her statements so that I don't have to come back at her like I feel like doing?
Yeah. Ms. Roblek, you may be angry.
It cost me a lot of money here.
It didn't cost you a lot of money, madam.
And
really, you're not out of pocket a lot of money at all. At most, you're out of pocket a couple of $100 because the ring that you're sporting on your finger you can sell, so you're not out $1,600. So what you're angry at is you're angry at the fact that this wedding didn't come to fruition. That's what you're angry at, all right? But if an engagement is broken, it's usually for a very good reason, and it's usually a very good reason, especially you, because you have two children. So if you're not getting along before
that he never
the wedding,
even said goodbye to when he left.
Oh, Ms. Roblek, you're a very angry lady. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $586.50. $500 for your phone bill, sir, and half of the invitations. Period. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I hope no one else ever bothers to get involved with David because they're going to be in a lot of trouble if they do. Mama won't like it.
Well, number one, I guess, hello, Mama. And as far as the rest of it goes, I think everything worked out just fine.
And now the next case.
Parties on Costa versus Memory Lane Sports Memorabilia. Step forward, please.
44-year-old engineer Joe Costa wants Memory Lane Sports memorabilia owner Larry Levine to return his 35-year-old baseball card collection.
Are you Mrs. Costa?
Yes.
Could you step up, please?
Sure.
You, sir, had been collecting baseball cards and football cards since you were a child.
Yes.
And you took his baseball cards and sold them to the defendant, who has a store.
Correct.
You want the cards back.
Yes.
So you're an important part of this case, Mrs. Costa. Now, I assume from my reading of these papers that you and your husband had discussed selling the baseball cards. Is that right?
We had discussed going to this, just going somewhere and finding out their value. The garage had flooded, and I was thinking, well, if they're just going to get molded or ruined in the garage, maybe we should see if they're worth anything.
So you had a discussion with your husband?
Yes, we brought them into the house.
And tell me about the discussion that you had with your husband.
That was about the extent of it. And I went to the shopping center that we frequent all the time. I've been in the defendant's store a couple times. I told him I might bring him by. I bought a Nebraska football, a couple baseball hats. Just felt familiar with it. Asked him if he would look at the cards. He agreed.
And you had discussed with your husband the fact that you were going to take them in to have him look at the cards.
I mentioned it. Mm-hmm.
And what did your husband say to you?
I don't remember anything in particular that he said to me. He didn't say, don't sell them or anything.
It would seem to me that if two people were having a discussion about baseball cards, an extensive collection of baseball cards, that you, sir, would have had some indication of their value. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And it would also seem to me, logically, that you would have shared that with your wife.
Yes, Your Honor.
So what did you tell her that you thought the cards were worth?
We didn't discuss the value of the cards. The cards had never been appraised.
And when your wife told you that she was going to take them in, are you trying to tell me, sir, that you didn't tell your wife, I think that this is what the cards are worth?
No, she's only going to show them. And I knew there were valuable cards.
There was a misunderstanding, and I didn't have intention to sell them when I went in that day. I wanted to see what they were worth. By the time I left his store, I went in, he thumbed through them real quick, showed me all the little deformities, oh, the corner's bent, et cetera, et cetera. Said there's not really anything of a lot of value here. There's some bulk value. I'll give you a couple hundred. I paused. He said, how about 300? I tried to call my husband from the store, and I got his voicemail at work. I had a conversation with his wife. His wife was there while this was happening. And I said, well, we've been in your store before. I said, is this about the same that somebody's going to give me down the street? Because I thought if they're worth a lot, like 1,000, 1,500, I would take them some, you know, a couple places. The minute I walked in the door when I got home, my husband called. I said, I sold your cards. And he flipped out. He said, what? I can't believe it. He didn't even want to know how much I sold them for. And he went over there within the hour and...
You mean within the hour of you selling the cards to him?
Yes, they still had them out on the counter when my husband went back into the store.
Okay. Mr. Levine, up until this point, nobody is faulting you. And I wouldn't even fault you subsequently, because you had somebody who came in who had what we call in the legal business apparent authority to sell those cards, right? You had the cards. You had gone in a couple of days before. You were the one who said, I want to bring some cards in for you to see. You didn't say to him, these are my husband's cards. I don't have the right
No, I told him that they were my husband's cards.
Did she tell you they were her husband's cards?
I believe she did tell me.
Well, did you? Oh, she did. That's an important piece. So, Mr. Levine, at that point, sir, that puts you on notice. And it puts you on notice that she may not have the authority to sell those cards.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Mr. Costa, I find that hard to believe. And Mr. Levine, you did the wrong thing, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joe Costa is suing for the return of his childhood baseball card collection. Card shop owner Larry Levine says the cards have already been sold.
Mr. Levine, if she had apparent authority to sell those cards, because she said they were her cards, she could sell them, then these people, right off the bat, would be out of luck. But in this case, Mr. Levine, you were on notice that despite the fact that she had the apparent authority to sell the cards because they were in her possession, they actually belonged to her husband. So let's get on to within the hour, Mr. Costa shows up at your store and says to you, those are my cards. My wife had no authority to sell them. At that point, you had the responsibility, sir, of returning the cards to him. And please, Mr. Levine, don't try to tell me that within the hour you went out and sold the cards, or any of them, because I won't believe you. Do you understand? And if you do tell me that, you're not going to like my response. So go ahead. Did you sell any of the cards within the hour?
I had an offer to have those cards sold within the hour, yes. Within 5 minutes, actually.
Now, you did not, in fact, sell them within that 5-minute period or the hour period. You may have gotten an offer, but they were still in your possession. So at that point, you had the obligation, I'm making this determination now, to return the cards to the rightful owner and say, this is an unfortunate mistake, that's it. So where are the cards now?
I sold the cards.
How much did you sell his cards for?
$600.
How many did you sell for $600?
I sold all of them.
You sold the entire collection for $600?
Yes.
To whom?
To another card dealer.
Mm-hmm. Now, Mr. Costa, how did you know the value of these cards?
In 1992, my cousin gave me Beckett's magazine, and Beckett's is a pretty accurate magazine for the determining the value of cards.
And give me some idea, to the best of your recollection, sir, what the value of the cards were.
Some of the better cards.
Altogether?
Total worth was about 57, the way I calculated it. All the cards.
Okay. Did you sell the entire collection of cards?
I sold everything but one card.
Okay. And you said you brought these cards up from the basement.
They were in the garage.
The cards were in the garage?
Right.
In what?
In a box about this size.
In a cardboard box? Mm-hmm. You're telling me that in 1992, you valued a collection at almost $6,000. And from 1992 to 1997, you kept this $6,000 investment in a garage, in a paper box, not a metal box, not a safe, not put them up in your bedroom, up above, your shoes.
Yeah.
You left them in a garage.
That's correct.
Yeah,
No, they weren't.
Mr. Costa, I find that hard to believe, because I have to come up with a monetary amount that this man has to pay you because he did the wrong thing. And Mr. Levine, you did the wrong thing, sir.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Mr. Levine, you did the wrong thing, sir. You did the wrong thing because you had knowledge, you were unnoticed that the cards did not belong to this lady, that they belonged to her husband. So that does away with the theory of apparent authority to sell the cards. He came to you within the hour, so the right thing for you to do would have been to return the cards. You didn't do that, and you got to suffer. And my only problem is how to value it. And quite frankly, I don't know how to value it. I really don't know how to value it. Because I don't believe, sir, that when you have a $6,000 piece of property, you don't keep it out in a garage. You put it someplace where you keep valuables. You don't keep it out in the garage. In any event, I'm awarding you $2,500. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. Mr. Levine, when you're in business, the most important thing that you have is your reputation. And as far as I'm concerned, this case besmirches your reputation. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You must have said, will you marry me? Does that sound familiar?
But they got unhitched after she climbed on stage at a Yanni concert.
She stopped the show.
I am totally shocked.
Real people, Judge Judy.
I have made amends for 3 weeks straight, so there's nothing I can do to replace the cards. I really didn't care about the money.
To me, it was a business transaction that went awry, and I apologize. That's all I can say.
He has a coin collection, and I won't touch it. I promise. I promise.
All parties on Osborne versus Holman Chesmar. Step forward.
26-year-old Kevin Osborne is suing the mother of his child, Kelly Holman, for running out with their daughter and leaving their apartment bare.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Judges number 74 on the calendar in the matter of Osborne versus Holdman Chesmar. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
You're Mr. Chismar?
Yes.
Why don't you have a seat for a moment, sir, even though you're a co-defendant in this case.
Right.
My reading of these papers suggests that you're really not a party in interest to this. Mr. Osborne, I read your complaint, sir. You and the defendant were engaged for about 2.5 years. Is that correct?
Yes.
And during that engagement period, you had a child.
Yes, ma'am.
Sort of not the way things are supposed to happen, you know.
She'd asked me to marry her.
No.
She didn't make the baby herself, right?
But she wanted the...
Shh.
Order.
She wanted the child. I did not at the time. Because I didn't know about our relationship and trusting her.
Mr. Osborne.
Yes,
Shh.
ma'am.
Engaged for 2.5 years, had a child. According to you, you were in jail for something. You'll tell me what in a minute. She moved out. When she moved out, she took $1,500 worth of your personal property.
And my child.
And your child.
No.
So, what were you in jail for?
I had a warrant for $100 owed to Burbank Court. And I had gotten in a fight with a friend over buying a car. We were wrestling in the driveway. The neighbors had called the police. They asked me if I had any warrants. I told them yes. And they took me in on that, and that only.
Why didn't you take care of these warrants?
Because we had moved in together and got a one-bedroom, and it was the expense of the child and all that. I couldn't afford it at all. I was trying to make a life for us and
Stop
pay
it.
utilities.
You're making me cry. What were the warrants for, sir? Warrants for parking tickets, driving while under the influence,
No,
speeding.
driving on a suspended license. I had done the time for it, but I owed court assessment, $100.
And how long were you in jail?
10 days.
And what happened while you were in jail?
In that time, she had taken my stuff, her stuff, and my child, and left the state.
Ms. Holdman, first, why don't you tell me why you left while he was in jail?
Well, first of all, we had a 3-day notice because Mr. Osborne did not get a job, and I could not pay rent and bills on my own.
Were you working?
No, I am disabled.
What's the nature of your disability?
Epilepsy.
So you received a disability check for yourself and the child?
No, at the time I was not receiving disability yet. I was on AFDC.
Okay. AFDC was paying the rent, so why did you get a notice to leave?
Because I could not afford the full amount
We were
of rent.
behind.
And I could not afford the full amount of rent, and I could not afford all the bills. Mr. Osborne had run up phone bills that I have, and he did not give any part of his to help pay for bills or rent.
So you decided to leave. There had to be more than that.
No, ma'am. We got the pay or quit before he went to jail, and he
I
knew that we had to move.
Is that the pay or quit notice?
Yes, I
May
have
I
two
see
of
it,
them.
please?
They only
Okay.
asked for $50 to continue the rent. They made a deal with us.
You decided to move out. I have a feeling that there was more to the reason that you moved out, moved far away, than just this pay and quit notice. But you left. Now, the question is, did you take any of his property with you?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Now, he's suing for $1,500. What property do you say she took?
She took dishes, clothes,
Just a
her
minute.
king-size bed that she had loaned us.
Just a second. Hold on. Let's go slowly, Mr. Osborne. Let's start with the bed.
Right.
The bed wasn't yours.
No.
Good. So let's forget
But
the
Lorraine
bed.
wants it back.
Just a
It
second.
was a
That's
loan.
her problem. I'm talking about you. She's not a co-plaintiff. You. What stuff did she take of yours?
She took ultrasound photos of the child and everything I had of the child.
Not everything. I want to hear, sir, what she took. Ultrasound photos of the child.
Yes, ma'am.
What else?
She took all my clothes.
Clothes. You say she took your clothes?
Yes.
What else did she take?
There was a fish tank, equipment, a little miniature pool table that I had for Brandy.
What else?
She had taken all my dishes.
Dishes.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of dishes, sir? Limoges?
Plates, cups, glasses.
What else? That's not...
Everything in the apartment.
Miss...
Everything in mind that I had. it
Mr.
meant some-
Osborne,
Yes, ma'am.
this is not why you're here, sir.
No, I'm here because of Brandy.
No, This is not why you're here, because this is a lot of baloney.
It is. And I don't care about the material things.
Because you're suing her for $1,500, but so far, you haven't given me $15 worth of stuff.
I have all kinds of things that in a value. I had 4 suits in there that were $600 each. I had all my clothes. That adds up.
Are you telling me you spent $600 a piece on 4 suits? You must have some good job.
And if you, yes, I did.
I don't have any use for your suits anyways.
Listen
why
to me.
would I take
I don't know why.
Mr. Osborne, you're not here because of this property,
I'm here because of
sir.
Brandy. I could care less about my stuff, material things.
Well, what do you
if
want?
I win, I'm going to use that to get visitation. She will not let me see my child, and she says, take me to court.
I tried to let you see your kid.
Just a second. So she says in her answer to your complaint that this is all about getting some money so that you can hire a lawyer, so that you can sue her in whatever the domestic relations or family court is in your jurisdiction. Is that why you're here, sir?
Yes,
to get money so that you can hire a lawyer?
Yes, I was hoping to see my child today, and she's not.
That's why you're here?
Yes.
To get money for a lawyer?
Yes.
This is not a proper forum for you, sir, to abuse the system, to come to court for that reason.
No, I also, I need some clothes, something to wear.
Did you take any of his clothes?
No, Your Honor, I did not.
Now, you're a co-defendant. Stand up, sir. You're suing him because why?
He was a party of taking my stuff. He helped her move out.
How do you know
He's
that?
a witness of all.
Just a second. How do you know that?
She had told me, and there's another.
Who told you?
Who told me? John Brown, another friend of Lorraine's, who was told her Lorraine that he had helped her move out.
Can't hear all that. I mean, it's a court, sir. Did you help her move when she left?
The only thing I moved out of there, I didn't move anything personally, ma'am. I had just had back surgery, so I wasn't lifting or doing any of that. They had brought out a dresser, the king-size bed, 2 dressers, and that was it. That's all I hauled.
You didn't haul that yourself?
No, ma'am.
What about her clothes? What about her stuff?
I didn't haul any of that.
Do I look like I need help? What does that have to do with you, her clothes?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Kelly and I were.
When I
you
get to that house,
mouth.
go ahead, hit me, and I'll put a lawsuit against you.
Yeah, I'll bet you will.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 26-year-old Kevin Osborne is suing the mother of his child, Kelly Holdman, for running out with their daughter and leaving their apartment bare.
You had somebody, according to these papers that I have, come in and take out your things.
A friend, the most expensive stuff.
You had a friend come in and take out some things.
Your Honor, I don't know who took my stuff.
Mr.
I don't know
Osborne,
if it was my friend.
Did you just say to me that you had your friend come in and take out the most expensive things, your tools?
Yes, because that's what I did for a living.
Well, then it's not logical, Mr. Osborne, for the defendant to have taken suits which she can hardly use and left the most expensive thing with the tools. I mean, if she was going to take something to sell them, certainly it would have been far smarter for her to take the tools, which she probably could have sold.
She plays games, and she takes it just to when I get out of jail, so I have nothing.
So
she
far,
wants to ruin
Mr. Osborne, the one who's playing a game is you, who's playing a game with a court.
No, ma'am. No,
with a court, because you're not here because of the things she allegedly took from your apartment.
Yes, I am.
Your problem, the two of you, is that you made a baby, and you had no right to make a baby until you had made a life together. That's what you did. That's a mistake.
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's a mistake.
why I wanted to wait to have a child.
I want to tell you something. I would run away from you too, sir. You don't know how to be quiet. I mean, there's something very controlling about your manner. What I'm telling you is you made a baby, you had no business making a baby, but now baby has 2 parents. So I assume that eventually a judge is going to hear this case. I assume you've been legally declared the father of this child, sir, is that right?
No, not legally, but it's in the birth certificate.
That's not legally. Well, if you... What?
That's all I ever. I don't have the money to do a DNA test.
Another reason why I left him also is because he's mentally and physically abusive, and I have proof of that. I have permanent scars on my body that I've never asked him for a penny. He's lived off of me all his life since we got together.
I want to pay child support. She won't even let me pay child support.
Then that was very bad judgment on your part.
Yes, it was.
Especially if you have a disability. That's very bad judgment on your part to live with somebody who is abusive. Clearly, this was not a relationship that was destined to go on for 25 years. Unfortunately, you made this child, and the child has 2 parents. All I want to know, sir, is you don't need $1,500, which is what you're suing for, to go into court and file a petition asking legally to be declared the father of this child. Once you're legally declared to be the father of this child, along with that comes certain rights. One of the rights is to have a regular time to see your daughter. Regular. That's what's supposed to happen. It's not supposed to be a controlling situation so that you call whenever you want to see the child.
I realize
because
that,
clearly that's not going to work here. So you're going to have somebody else set up a schedule for you. But you have to go into court to do that. Are you still receiving AFDC?
Yes, ma'am, just for the child, and I'm receiving disability for myself.
Well, if she's receiving AFDC
Your
for the
Honor?
child,
Your Honor, when she was living with me, in all the places that she was living, she was getting AFDC and welfare and saying that she was living at their house. That's perjury. That is lying to the social service who I'm talking to now on fraud, welfare fraud.
I don't think
so. Notified welfare when she moved.
let me tell you something.
She worked with my mother. I moved her in when I first met her to take care of nurse and take care of my mom and maid. And she did not claim that she was living there earning money.
Yes,
Lorraine
I
is a witness. Is all that Kelly, her granddaughter, has done to me. I'm living with Lorraine now. We were supposed to get married.
She's not my legal grandmother.
No, but she took custody of Kelly when she was 12 years old.
No, she did not. I ran away to her when I was 12.
Listen, I'm really not interested in going back to the flood, sir. What I'm telling you is, and I don't mean to be hard on you. I really don't mean to be hard on you. But this is the mother of your child. You're not supposed to put her in jeopardy. By what you just said to me now, you have placed her in jeopardy. Why would you want to do that?
Because she is not she's not a fit mother, that's why.
And like you're a fit father.
I have witnesses that she was
listen,
at a bar drunk, staggering, and she's supposed to be a mother of my child.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did I ever hit you?
Yeah, what the hell is this?
Oh, no.
What is this?
You were drunk.
Yeah, I was drunk.
I pushed you. Did I hit you?
I was
No.
drunk. Yeah.
And later today,
Do you really believe in this position that you've taken for me?
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, then let me tell you where you're all wet.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
I would hope that whatever judge hears your case and hears your petition for paternity and custody or visitation, whatever you will be seeking, does a full forensic examination, that is a full psychiatric and psychological evaluation of both of you. And I would assume that once those forensics are done, if they are done by a qualified person, the judge will have all the information that he or she needs to make an appropriate order for custody or visitation. My case here is a very simple one. You have not established to my satisfaction that she took anything from this apartment that belonged to you, and I am dismissing your lawsuit. With the proviso, sir, that if you want visitation, and not just to be tootin', you go into court yourself, you don't need a lawyer, you petition the court to be legally declared the father of this child. They will immediately make an order of support so that I, the taxpayer, don't have to support your child, which I am doing now. I am doing now.
She won't let me pay child support.
Just a second.
She wants
I don't
to
want
keep
you.
collecting
Just a second.
AFDC and get my child away from me.
Listen to me. Judge, listen to me, Judge. Full forensic examinations before you make any order. This case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please. Take your time.
She keeps their marriage going, and she's told me some of the things that she does with them.
He's jealous.
He's jealous of the relationship
Maybe because
that we
he has
have.
to sit in his bedroom with his mags.
Parties on Young versus Cornelius. Step forward, please.
Financial controller Lucinda Young says she loaned Aaron Cornelius money and even adjusted his tax deductions because she felt sorry for him, but he won't pay her back.
Ms. Young, I gather that you work in the accounting department where the defendant works as an employee. Is that correct?
I'm the controller.
According to your complaints, he came to you and asked to borrow $168. That was a personal loan. You gave him $168. He hadn't paid you back.
Right.
Is that it?
That's it.
You say it has nothing to do with a personal loan.
That's correct.
Well, let's hear what your defense is.
My defense is that she had told me that the government was taking too much money away from me on each paycheck, that she can correct that by blocking my taxes for periods of time.
What do you mean blocking your taxes?
Basically where the money comes to me now instead of at the end of the year.
So she was going to add more deductions for you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you say in your answer to this claim that as a result of that, it cost you some money.
That's correct.
How much money did it cost you?
Approximately almost $500 at the end of the year that I ended up owing due to this block.
It's not a block. It's just changing the number of deductions.
The changing the number of deductions, yes.
Well, let me ask you, sir, how did you come to ask her, how did she come to give you this $168? I want you to tell me exactly what happened. She's in her office.
Right. I had approached her and told her that due to what we have did to my paycheck, that it had ended up making me owe at the end of the year, and you know, it was hurting me financially, and she had offered to help. And she said she had wrote me out a check for $168, and I said thank you. And I didn't assume that it was a loan due to the fact that it was her negligence that brought me to this point anyway.
Now you want to tell me your version of how this came about?
Well, Aaron came into my office and said, I've been making payments all along to the IRS. And this was in October of '96, so obviously his tax return, I assume, was filed on time in April. He said, I owe $168. Are they going to garnish me? Well, we don't like garnishments where I work because they cause a little extra work for all of us. And, you know, I've known Aaron for as long as he's worked at the company. And I said, Aaron, how much is it? How much do you need to not be garnished? He said, $168. I said, okay, I'll write you a check. Pay me back when you can. Here's $168. The garnishment came through next week, the following week. I said, what'd you do with the money? But obviously that's history now. It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay, but you said to him, here's the $168, pay me back when you can.
He offered to sign a note. In fact, that was the first thing he said before I even offered to give him the money. He said, I'm happy to sign a note, whatever it takes, but I need this money now. I said, you don't need to sign a note. I know you. You've been working here a while. I won't do it again, but...
Now, Mr. Cornelius, do you really believe in your position, sir?
Excuse me?
Do you really believe in this position that you've taken before me?
Absolutely, Your Honor.
Well, then let me tell you where you're all wet.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
She explained to you, if I believe what you say, that if you took, let's say, 4 deductions, you would get more in your salary each week, and it would probably be a wash with regard to taxes. You wouldn't have to pay any taxes, and you would end up with more dollars in your hand, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So what happened was, you still got more dollars. She didn't get any gain out of this. You did. If she put more deductions, that means you got more money in your paycheck each week. Why should she have to pay for that? She didn't write a company check. She wrote her own personal check. You still got the money.
Okay.
Now, did you go to her office and say, if I don't send them $168, they're going to garnish my salary?
That's correct.
And did she say to you, I'll give you the $168 because we don't like that to happen. You'll give it back to me when you can?
She had said to assist me, yes. She did say she would assist me, yes.
You left out the last part, Mr.
That's
Cornelius.
correct, because I don't recall that part.
Well, she recalls it, and it sounds very logical to me.
Well, I have it in an email here that he intended to pay me back.
Because you kept hounding me about it, and I was going to try to
just a
square it away.
second. Did you put it in a letter to her that you were going to pay her back?
Yeah, because she kept
Good.
hounding me about it.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $168. Thank you. That's
Parties
all.
are excused. You may step out the back door to your right. Hoo-ah.
On the next Judge Judy.
I told him $28 a paycheck, 6 paychecks. He won't owe me any more money. You know, I honestly think that if Aaron had had it in his pocket and it was spare money he didn't know what to do with, I think he would have given it back to me. But I don't think he has any spare money. I don't think he's had any spare money for a while.
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, क्या हाल है आप सबका। उम्मीद करता हूँ आप सब ठीक ठाक होंगे, खैर खैरियत से होंगे। तो लास्ट वीडियो में मैंने आपको ये ऊपर स्कोर स्मैश गेम दिखाई थी, तो काफ़ी लोगों ने मेरे से ना इनबॉक्स में पूछा था कि इस गेम में अगर हम लाइक स्कोर ज़्यादा कर लें, ठीक है, तो क्या होगा। कम पे तो कुछ भी नहीं होता, अगर हमारे से ये एग्जैक्ट टारगेट हिट ना हो तो फिर क्या होगा। तो आज आपके सामने एक गेम प्ले करके कोशिश करते हैं कि स्कोर ऊपर कर लें, ताकि आप लोगों को एटलीस्ट पता चल जाए कि क्या, कि जब स्कोर ऊपर होता है तो क्या होता है। ठीक है, मैं भी आज ही ट्राई कर रहा हूँ, तो देखते हैं, मैं भी शायद कोई रिवॉर्ड मिल जाए। 22 स्कोर का टारगेट है और हम ऊपर करके देखते हैं कि ओके हो जाएगा ऊपर आराम से। तो ओके, ये आप लोगों के सामने मैंने स्कोर ऊपर। अनलकी, ये क्या मतलब, कुछ भी नहीं। अच्छा, तो भाई आप लोगों के सामने आप लोग देख सकते हैं कि इसके ऊपर स्कोर एग्जैक्ट करना होता है। ऊपर स्कोर अगर आप थोड़ा इंक्रीज़ करेंगे ना, तो आपका कुछ भी नहीं बनना, आपको कुछ भी नहीं मिलना। तो उसके बाद ये स्पिन वाली गेम है। तो आज मैं आपको पूरी इसका ना रिव्यू दे रहा हूँ, इस ऐप का, उस गेम का। तो इसके बाद ये नीचे कुछ ऑप्शंस हैं टीम वाला, इसमें ये बॉलर्स हैं, बैट्समैन हैं। अब मुझे तो नहीं इतनी नॉलेज है, जिसको पता है इन बॉलर्स का, ठीक है, अगर ये कोई रियल लाइफ में कोई एग्जिस्ट करता है तो काइंडली नीचे कमेंट करें, बताएं इसका, अगर किसी को पता है इसके बारे में। तो ये सारे इसके बॉलर्स और फिर ये बैट्समैन इनके, ठीक है। काफ़ी सारे मेरे अभी अनलॉक नहीं है, कोशिश करूँगा कि ये अनलॉक हों। उसके बाद ये बैट्स की स्किन्स हैं, ये जो बैट जिससे प्ले करते हैं ना, ये उनकी स्किन्स हैं। और उसके बाद में अभी आपको ये देखिए बॉल्स, ये बॉल्स डिफरेंट मतलब डिज़ाइंस में, और ये भी रिवॉर्ड्स में मिलती हैं और इन चीज़ों में मिलती हैं। ये भी आपको कलेक्ट करनी पड़ती हैं या बाय करनी पड़ती हैं। तो इसके अलावा ये आप देख सकते हैं साथ शॉप, इसका भी यही सीन है कि लाइक आप इसमें से ना वो डायमंड्स की चीज़ें बाय कर सकते हैं, आप इसमें से परचेजिंग कर सकते हैं। ये लीग है इसकी, आप लोगों के सामने लीग में अगर हम इंटर करेंगे, अगर हम लीग प्ले करते हैं तो ऊपर हमें डायमंड्स वगैरह मिलेंगे। तो और ये इसके स्टेजेस हैं, 5 लाख तक इसकी गेम है। तो मुझे तो ये गेम बहुत अच्छी लगी। अगर आप लोगों को अच्छी लगे तो लाजमी इसको इंस्टॉल करें और अपना फ़ीडबैक लाजमी दें। तब तक के लिए अल्लाह हाफिज़, अपना ख्याल रखिएगा, दुआओं में याद रखिएगा। हाफिज़।